Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Ko whitirea te maunga, ko parihua te moana, ko Titahi Bay, tōku tūranga waiwai, ko Greg Ellis ahau. And welcome to this, the second in 7 days of streaming for Kiwi RPG Week. It's Matariki, of course, this week, and it's a great time for new beginnings, and so we're playing a brand new Kiwi game. It's also time to acknowledge those who've passed, and I would like to acknowledge my father-in-law George, who passed away just last week. It is an amazing time, an amazing community to be part of, ladies and gents. Kiwi RPG creators bat well above the size of our community globally. The game we're playing tonight has been picked up by a major indie publisher, and there are games that are being made by Kiwi creators, including some in this game that are being played all over the world, and it's an amazing source of pride and humbling thing to be part of it. So please check out everything else on KiwiRPG, see what else is going on the week, dip in, check out some more great games, look at some great streams, see what some great creators are doing. Today our game is Deathmatch Island, which is one of my favorite games. I've been playing role-playing games now for more than 30 years. And this is a game that I really love. Chances are I'll butcher it tonight, which is a real shame, but we've apologized to Tim Dene, the creator, ahead of time. But it's an amazing game. It's different to D&D, which is the entryway for so many people. It does some really cool things, and we're kicking it up a notch this time by bringing dinosaurs into the mix. You'll see soon. We've got some fantastic support, not just from the people in the Kiwi RPG community, but we've got BD&D on board. BD&D are a local game store here in Te Whanganui-a-Tara, in Petone, which is where most of us are tonight. And they have a website that they sell stuff all over, including their very own creations. And Shane and Nikki from BD&D are top people, and B is a top cat. So there is a discount code for BD&D's website. So if you want to jump on to beadndgames.co.nz, that's beadndgames.co.nz, and use the code NZDND, there are sweet discounts coming your way. And for those of you who stick with us to the end, there is a prize giveaway. So if you survive the death match, you can go in, ladies and gents, to win a limited edition Mind Flayer adorable figurine and a copy of the Deathmatch Island book. And it is an amazing book. It's a wonderful piece of design just to have not only a great game. There's also an additional giveaway prize to be drawn from people who actually purchased Deathmatch Island within 24 hours of this stream starting. Now, so you've got 24 hours. You need to email proof of your purchase plus your name and delivery address to kiwirpgofficial@gmail.com, and the entries close on the 1st of July. For you lot, if you do purchase the game, then there's a limited edition Mind Flayer adorable figurine and a limited edition copy of the Deathmatch Island book, thanks to BD&D and Tim Dene, the creator of Deathmatch Island. This prize, though, if you're listening in from overseas, it is for New Zealand addresses only. That's one more reason why you need to come down here to Aotearoa, folks, so you can win great prizes and avoid what's going on in the rest of the world. All right, ladies and gents, you've heard a lot from me now, and everybody else has been mugging for the camera because they're waiting for their chance to talk. So I'm going to get them to introduce themselves to you folks. We'll start from the top of my screen as I'm looking at it down. Who knows what it's like on the stream? Let's start with Morgan. Morgan.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Kotirana te whakapaparanga mai, ko te awa kairangi te kāinga, ko Morgan Davey O. Tēnā tātou katoa, kia ora koutou. I'm Morgan from Diceratops and from KiwiRPG, I guess, and really excited to be deathmatching tonight. Looking forward to just having a nice happy game where we all support each other a lot and nothing too bad is going to happen. So I'm looking forward to that. Cheers.
Kia ora, Morgan, and that is such misplaced sentiment. All right, next up we've got Julz Burgess. Julz.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Ko inga rangi te whakapaparanga mai, ko porirua te kāinga, ko Julz au, tēnā koutou katoa. So hello, I am Julz from NZ. I really should change it to Julz from Aotearoa for Kiwi RPG Week. And you can find me usually either on Diceratops as a mysterious voice lately, or over on Fetivism Podcast, being the DM on live streams and podcasts and stuff over there. I'm really excited to be here. I heard that we were totally going to get to an island and just, be matched with some deadly hot cute guy. So that's what I'm kind of here for. That's right?
I so lied when I prepped these guys. I so lied. Different lie for every person. Wait and see in the introductions. But next we have Jarrod Baker. Jarrod.
Tēnā koutou katoa, no ahuriri o, ko pōneke te kāinga, ko Jarrod toku ingoa. Tēnā tātou katoa. Hi, I'm Jarrod. I'm also, this is like, would say, I'm part of Diceratops. We're not giving away any mystery because that's, I think, how we build this whole situation. But, if you enjoy this, you might like our podcast, I guess. Look us up. Yeah, excited to be here. What lie did Greg tell me that I'm now going to lie about? I'm expecting similar to Julz, sort of like Love Island or maybe F-Boy Island, that sort of thing. Under this, I'm wearing a tank top just to get ready and get into character. So we'll big reveal later.
Oh, and there it is. It's been promised now, ladies and gentlemen. And last but not least, feeling the pressure of coming up with an even better lie, Stephen Youngblood.
Tēnā koutou e tēnei ata. No tarea ko Amerika oku tipuna. I tipu mai au ki manawa tū kei te whanganui atara noho ana ko Stephen Youngblood toku ingoa. So I'm Stephen Youngblood. I'm the bottom half of Dads on the Town, Wellington's third best improv duo. And I'm really excited about being here tonight. I actually thought I was doing an escape room. So this is a whole time for me. So I think that, to be honest, buckle up because you're in for a wild ride.
All right, ladies and gents.
Right.
That's exactly what's happening, folks. We've got that's the crew, and as you may have worked out, certainly if you've followed their work, this is Diceratops that's with you today, plus me. So we're going to see how they go on Deathmatch Island. But before we start, ladies and gentlemen, one of the coolest things that's already come out of KiwiRPG Week for us as a community is we've been gifted our own karakia. So I'd like to start our official live stream of Deathmatch Island. Diceratops does Deathmatch Island with our KiwiRPG karakia. E ngā kaituhi, ngā ringatoi, ngā kāhanga, a kia tātou katoa, ngā wā o mua ki tēnei wā. Toi noa atu ki te wā e heke mai, e moe ana, e manako ana, e hanga ana tātou. E tū ko tahi ana tātou kia hapaitia i a tātou anō, kia pipiri tātou, kia hapaitia tō tātou reo kia kotahi. Kia ngā wari a mua, he tau i roto i te mai koa a tōna tainga mai. Haumi e, hui e,
Taiki.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Diceratops Does Deathmatch Island. So, our intrepid members of Diceratops are all competitors in a game that they didn't necessarily choose for themselves. Our game begins with them waking up, coming to consciousness on a small boat. They're all wearing orange jumpsuits. Not what they last remember going to out of the house. And in fact, they don't remember very much about when they left the house last time. Their memories are hazy. Only snatches of memory can be found, but they, all four of them, are together on this little boat, outboard motor chugging, and one of them already has their hand on the outboard motor. Who is it?
Hey,
There it is. All right. So we'll start with Morgan's character, the dentist Bill Bread. Tell us, but we'll get you to ask a question of one of the other people here on the boat with you. Do you want to ask them one of our trust building questions? So we've got a section of trust building questions here, folks, and they're going to ask one of these trust building questions, and we're going to see a dimly remembered flashback from the character's past. So Bill, who do you want to ask your question to?
I'm going to ask a question to the person sitting next to me on the boat, which just happens to be Julz's character.
All right. What question are you going to ask?
So Bill is holding the rudder of this thing, and he's holding this list of questions and just kind of shakily looking around, not really sure what's going on, and he just fixates on the person next to him. I need you to tell me something. I need you to tell me about a time that you quit a job. Why did you quit a job?
Well, I mean, there
right.
was that fishing ship. It kind of stank. Total nightmare, frankly. I mean, I signed up for like boats and sailing and stuff, but the whole fish thing. So yeah.
What as she's thinking about that boat and the fishing trip, Krill, the sailor, remembers just for a brief moment a panic that the crew had, and maybe there was some panic about some big long-necked shape under the water, but she dismisses that. That can't have been anything serious. So describe your character a little bit, describe Krill a little bit, and let's find a trust-building question for one of the other people here.
Okay. You look over at Krill. She's got like bright blue hair, and is kind of like a fairly like seriously sort of stocky build. Got some muscles under that, jumpsuit going on. And like eyes that look like they've just seen things. So there's definitely that moment as she's answering the question where she sort of stares off into the waves for a moment, dramatically, and then snaps back, and then is like, he turns to one of the other people in the boat, and I think just immediately to the left of her, she sees, I don't know who it is.
See, you can see. See, a
Looking at
dude
me.
wearing. Yep.
You looking at me, lady?
Romeo Dankworth, elderly scoutmaster.
I'm Romeo Dankworth. Right, got it. I look at you and I'm like, it reminded me of something. You know, you should tell me about a time you nearly died.
Well, gee, lady, I guess we are mysteriously on a boat together. Which is as good a question as any. Well, I mean, aside from this one, there was one time I was out on a troop walk with some, with one of my scout troops, the Karori West Scout troop, and I was leading them in the Skyline. We'd had an overnight backpack scout trip there in the Skyline Reserve, and one kid fell down a hole. Someone of the biker team, one of the bikers, they sort of rally against the scout group. So it's a whole long story, but anyway, they'd laid a trap. They dug a pit, and one of my kids fell down. So I climbed down to spend time, to help try and help him out, but fell and broke my leg. And then the kid used me to climb out of the hole, but of course, broken leg overnight on a Skyline. A lot of shock. Nearly died. True story.
What Romeo doesn't realise is that the pit wasn't dug by the bikers. There was, in fact, if we pull back to a little bit earlier in the day before the tramp, there are two people wearing orange coveralls digging the trap, digging a hole. And as the camera pulls back a little bit, we can see that the Deathmatch Island logo is on the middle of the back of the coveralls of both the people digging the pit. All right, Romeo, there is one person yet who nobody has spoken to or seen, and that is Dexter, the wiry gentleman sitting across the boat from you. Have you got a question for Dexter?
So you're a wiry gentleman. My name's...
Is that your question?
Oh, no, I guess we'll all ask you a question, but I thought I should introduce myself first.
Mhm.
My name's Romeo. Romeo Dankworth. There's an H, but it's silent. I want to know, though, Mr. Wiry Fellow. I want to know about a time you excelled as a child. I want to know. What did you excel at?
Well, this was probably foreshadowing in a way of my future career. But once when I was really very small, about 8, my my 3-year-old sister fell in the swimming pool, and without even thinking, I leapt into the water. She was floating there, and I rescued her out of the pool. I got and dragged her to the side, got her onto the side, and resuscitated her. Without even thinking about it, without reacting, just a perfect save.
Wow, that hard work and perseverance really is worth, I would say, at least two merit badges in my troop. Well done.
Which leaves the only person unexamined, the man with his hand on the outboard motor, Bill Bread. What question does Dexter have for Bill?
Bill, tell me about a time when you broke the law.
Break the law? What makes you think I'd break the law? That's... Look, I don't know what's going on here. But listening to you three talking right now, I realize I can trust you. And I'm trusting you with this. Because I have broken the law. There was this van. It was parked outside my apartment. And I saw it too many times. And one night I got out on my mountain bike and I started chasing after it. As soon as it saw me, it started driving away, but I kept going after it. And I saw when it pulled into a garage, and I waited, and I broke into that place. broke into that place because breaking and entering, it's against the law, but I had to find the truth. And then I just set fire to the place as well, because setting fire to places is against the law, but I just couldn't let them keep spying on me like that. So I know I can trust you. I know I can trust you.
Fire starting's a
Bill
merit badge too.
What Bill has kept to himself is that the van was a van in orange and white with the Deathmatch Island written on the outside of it. Bill knows it's the same thing as the logo on his jumpsuit, but he's not quite ready to reveal that to everybody yet. So, you've all shared a little bit of your past. So what you can do now is on your character sheets, you can mark one trust with each member of your team, of your crew. And trust in Deathmatch Island is a commodity that can be spent. So you can spend a trust at any time to compel somebody to take an injury for you or take fatigue when you could have got it as a result of failing a challenge. You can spend a trust to get somebody to help you in a challenge, or you can spend a trust to influence the decision of your group's leader, because on Deathmatch Island, the final decision at any point comes down to the group's leader. The group's leader currently, because he's the man with his hand on the control of the boat, is Bill Bread. So, but each of you have one trust with every other member of your crew. The boat ride takes a little longer, and you slowly see an island come into view. For some of you, there's something just sort of naggingly familiar about this island. It's a shape that maybe you've seen in some TV ads, or maybe in a magazine ad. It's the outline of somewhere that you see that is kind of familiar. And you're heading towards a dock on the island. And that dock, as you get there, it all of a sudden clicks. There is a sign which is sort of in faux bamboo wrapped. And there is bamboo around the edges. And it has a sort of a faux sort of Stone Age font that reads Triassic Island. And then somebody has crudely pasted on a slight angle a sign over the top of it which says Deathmatch over the bit that says Triassic. But you guys can remember this. It was some sort of weird vanity project, an attempt at a theme park that the few people that went before it went completely, it shut down and nobody talked about it anymore. A few people, it was out on social media that there were real dinosaurs on this island. But your boat is now approaching these docks, and you can see that there is a lush jungle over the island. You can hear sort of birds in the trees, and then all of a sudden you hear this noise, and we'll see whether Discord will pick this up. It wasn't in the prep. You hear this which is a completely sort of natural noise coming from overhead. You look up and you see a large shadow with wings that must be 4 or 5 meters. It's huge, bigger than any bird, fly over the edge of a hill and then down out of sight again. The next thing you hear, though, is the noise of gunfire. You hear a single shot and then a scream, and then all the bird life stops for a moment. and then your boat pulls up to this large jetty. It's a huge jetty. It's tall, so it's designed for much bigger boats than yours, but there is a rope ladder to allow you up. And as you climb up the ladder, you see that there are these more Triassic world banners down the thing, and there's also large pictures of a woman, and you recognize her. It's Dr. Serafina Green. She was the person who years ago came out with this whole idea that ancient life could be recreated from DNA that was preserved. People called her a bit of a whack job. She's sort of sat somewhere in between Elon Musk and crazier on the crazy billionaire kind of scheme. And you come down, and there is you come down, and there's a sort of a receiving kind of visitor center, and you can see that there are a couple of groups at the on the dock. There are people milling everywhere. There must be more than 100 people, all in matching orange jumpsuits. You notice that some of them have they all have different numbers on the back, and they're milling them, apart from one group. And there is one group that has got together in sort of like a flying wedge, and they are pushing people into the water. They are punching people. They are moving with sort of real purpose towards down the dock and inland. And as you spot at the corner of your eye, standing next to one of the posters, a person who looks exactly like Dr. Serafina Green, because she's standing next to a poster of herself, but she too is dressed in an orange jumpsuit, and she's fighting with another younger Asian woman, and they seem to be sort of engaged in a heated discussion. And you can see that there are definitely at least two groups forming here. This wedge of people that is moving with real precision, and then there is everybody else. So at this point, you kind of have a choice, really. You can join in with these guys that are mowing their way down the dock and tuck in behind them, or you can go and try and communicate with maybe Dr. Green, maybe the woman that she's been arguing with. What do you want to do? You guys can talk about it, but the decision comes down to Bill Bread.
Look, seems pretty clear to me what's going on here. They've created dinosaurs. The dinosaurs have become super intelligent. They've generated their own weapons, and they've taken over the island, and they're in the process of conquering humanity. We've just heard the first gunshots of the dinosaur takeover. They've even put their commander, their creator, in a suit just like us, and they're going to make us work in their dinosaur mines. So what are we going to do? Yeah, it's obvious. Haven't you been listening? Didn't you hear the gunshots? Didn't you see the dinosaurs? What more evidence do you need?
Okay.
Hey, you seem you seem like a nice guy, but you also seem maybe a sandwich shy of a picnic. You know, that's
dinosaurs, to be clear, aren't real, and never were. So
definitely real.
I don't know what this is, but
they're just dead now.
No, like always, like you know,
yeah.
What do you even like? Someone made it up. Fairy story.
Okay. Do you want to go
that
after
moment,
that?
the young Asian woman comes running over to you. She angrily finishes her conversation and she goes, "Oh, you seem to be the last people here. I need you to help. Someone said that this is a deathmatch competition where we're all gonna die, and I don't want to die. I just want to get off the island, and I need you to help me." And from behind her, Dr. Green comes striding up to you, and she's like, I don't want you to listen to her. She's panicking. This is a perfect opportunity. We can revive and rebuild this experiment. If you help me, I can make sure that you're on staff, that you please think about it. We get the chance to create new life.
I look at the other three and I'm nodding like, yeah, we want to get in on the inside in this. And to me, it's completely obvious that this is what we need to do. And I'm looking for your reactions.
I asked the lady, do you still have the keys to the buildings?
I absolutely know some of the codes, but we need to stop them. And she points at the wedge. We need to stop them before they get there before us, because if they get there, I think that they're going to try and steal absolutely everything.
The lady with the codes. I look back at you.
So, hey, look, you seem
All
nice, lady doctor. You look, is it Dr. Green, is it? You seem nice, you know, and I'm sure you're very smart. You worked really hard to get where you got to, and I applaud you for that. However, you find yourself in a situation now where the situation has changed. We're all in a situation that's changed, so we kind of need to adapt. And if we don't adapt, then honey, we all die. At some point. My goal is to make sure that it's not me today.
So after all of that heroic mansplaining, you've really got a choice here. Do you throw your lot in with Emily, the young scientist, to try and help her? Do you throw your lot in with Dr. Serafina Green and try and stop this wedge of people some way, or delay them from getting
we're
closer?
Going in with Dr. Green. As
All
leader,
right.
I'm making it happen.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, it's happening. So what this is going to be then is this is the first challenge of the game. All right. So what I'm going to call this is going to be a death match challenge. You guys are going to have to get in there and get your hands dirty. If you're going to try and slow these, obviously this organized wedge of, they're moving with military precision, you're going to have to fight fire with fire. So this is going to be a deathmatch challenge. Now in Deathmatch Island, I didn't need to draw that on there. You guys will be, I'm going to assemble a pool of dice first as production. So what I do is I assemble the production dice, and then that sets a target number that these guys are going to have to beat. So for this one, it's going to be a deathmatch contest, which means that it is dangerous. If these guys fail, they will take an injury. They only have a limited number of injuries, and because every one of the cast of Diceratops decided during character creation that their characters were all going to have a limp, I've already started them
Dice decided
with
that.
2 injuries each. I don't know about that. I think that's really weird that 4 of you should all have limps. So they've decided that. And it's going to be, they will go with, I'm going to use the extraction team. We'll actually just go with the extraction team themselves, not the team leader. So these guys are, where are we? They are, they are ruthless. We'll go with, they are ruthless. They are mercenary and disciplined. So I'm going to roll some dice. They get a D10 for their name. So everybody's name, they get a dice for their name. In the case of these guys, it's a D10. It will be less for our characters because they're a little bit squishier. They get a D10 because they're mercenary. Now, in working out for you people at home the level of the challenge that they've faced, the dice go up to D12. Most of the abilities that our characters have are a D6, or one of them is a D8. So these guys get a D10 for their name. They get a D10 for being a mercenary. They get D8 for being disciplined. I add to that the danger level. So the danger level for this is just, it's a mere +4, folks at home. So I'm going to roll that together. And at the end of that, I'm going to take the highest roll of the 3 dice and I'm going to add the danger level to it. And that will be the target that these guys have to beat. So this is pretty tough. And if they fail, ladies and gents, and everyone at home, they will take an injury for sure. So here we go. I'm going to roll. It's going to be a deathmatch challenge. And there we go. I've rolled. And it's a 10. All right, so our players have to beat a 10. So what's going to happen now is they're just going to do a very quick introduction. All they're going to do is just who's taking part in the challenge. You've got 2 options in Deathmatch Island. You can take part in the challenge, or you can support another player. So all those people who are taking part in the challenge, please just tell us your name and your competitor number and one little thing that might appear as a graphic. So who's taking part in this challenge?
Bill Bread. Bill Bread, competitor number 53. There is this a stylized computer animation of a dentist with a drill drilling someone who's wiggling in the chair, and the animation just kind of explodes in action and returns to me charging forward with desperation in my eyes to get stuck into this fight.
All right, Bill Bread is in. Who else is into this competition?
Romeo Dankwart steps to the front. So he there's a little graphic of him surrounded by puppies and young children, and they're all licking his face, and he's having a great time. And then it dissolves into him with tying a strip of his clothing into a bandana and charging against this angry mob that is clearly against talent and hard work.
The children were licking your face.
The puppies were licking my face. The children were there as well. It's a
They were licking the puppies.
Yes, well, there was licking, and there were faces, and there were children, and there were puppies, and that's basically all. My memory was fuzzy. What can I say?
Who else is in? So Romeo and Bill are in. Is anybody else in this challenge?
Mr. Mason is in. The graphic that plays for Dexter Mason being into the challenges is him emerging from the sea. A graphic on the screen says Dexter Mason, and then below it Chief Lifeguard, and he's dressed. He's wearing basically the exact togs that in the first Daniel Craig James Bond film he was wearing walking out of the water. Except Dexter Mason is a much wirier, skinny man than Daniel Craig, and he just walks out and he's dripping with water.
So he's taken off his jumpsuit for this.
Oh, this is
pre-roll.
Yeah, this is pre-roll.
Okay, great. So is Krill in on this one or not?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So flashing up on the screen is Krill Nenai, and you just see this beautiful, absolute gorgeous superstar step onto the edge of a boat in her bikini, just sun flashing and everything behind her. And then it switches dramatically to her just in the middle of this crazy ocean, and her grabbing the steering wheel of the ship and just staring it through crazy stormy seas, so it's trying to, portray both sides of her.
All right, they're all in, folks. So what's going to happen now on Deathmatch Island is I'll explain how the mechanic works. I've got a target that I've set them of 10 that they have to get. So what's going to happen now is they're going to assemble a dice pool. So unlike in some other games, I don't set the challenge and then tell them what skill they need to use. They can use whatever skills they want. At the moment, the skills that they have are it's a deathmatch challenge. So they're going to need to use their deathmatch skill. They will use their name dice, which will be a D6. Their deathmatch may be a D6, or it might be a D8 if they're lucky. They could use a second skill if they want to, but if they do that, they'll need to mark a point of fatigue. So fatigue is another resource that you might have, that when you mark off a certain number of fatigue, you automatically get another injury. So they could add an extra skill if they wanted to. They could also, if they think they can justify it, add their occupation dice. So if, for example, if Morgan thinks that Bill can justify it, he would add Bill's D6 for his dentistry to it as well. And what happens in Deathmatch Island is they roll a dice, and then we find out what happens. So we don't go the other way. So it will depend on whether they succeed or whether they fail. Remember, folks, this is a deathmatch contest, which means that if they fail, they will immediately take an injury. All right, here we go. Let's get some rolls from players. They'll have been building their dice pool while I was talking, and we'll get those rolls coming up now. All right, so Romeo Dankworth fails. All right, he fails with a 9. Needed to get 10, got 9. So, who else is, what else have we got? Dexter Mason fails. Needed a 10, got a 7. Bill Bread needed a 10, got a 6. It's all up to Krill. Krill fails. Needed a 10, got an 8. This is not a great start, folks, but they did pick the toughest thing to do. They are attacking these trained killers. So what normally happens is that the worst person who fails goes first, and we have them describe what happens all the way through to anybody who succeeds. Nobody succeeds in this one, folks. So the first thing that we're going to have everybody do, because this may have impact on what they describe, is that they're all going to mark an injury. So, and I will tell each of them, deciding randomly what their injury is. So if everybody marks an injury on their sheet, and I will tell you what injury each of you have. So Bill, your injury will be severe blood loss. That will be the injury. You'll need to figure that into your confessional. Krill, the injury that you have received is a crushed wrist. So you're going to need to get that into there. And Dexter, our wiry lifeguard, has wounded leg. That might be your other leg. There could be 2 limps going on here. And of course, everybody's favorite child face licking Scoutmaster has severed his ear. His ear has been ripped off in this particular encounter. So we might save that one. I know that that's bucking with how things are supposed to be done, because I think Romeo is actually the best out of the whole lot of you. So he will go last. The other thing is that each of your people, just before you go off on your stupid mission, you notice that on your wrist is this large thing that looks like a 1980s or 1990s sort of Casio G-Shock, but it's orange and it doesn't have a face in it. It just has a little ticker tape counter. And as you, it spits out one thing, and each of you gets 1 follower. So you mark off a follower box on your character sheet. That actually means that there are 10,000 followers that are really into you. And what I thought we might do for the folks in the chat is at the end of it, you can decide who you think described the best fail, and they will get another follower. This is completely outside the scope of Deathmatch Island, the game, but we're just going to do it. All right. So remember, they came in. There is a huge scrum of people on the dock. There is this wedge of people who are just efficiently mowing their way down the dock. They've Dr. Serafina Green has asked them to help. Bill Bread has just leapt into it, powered by his conspiracy that there are armed dinosaurs waiting to take over the world, and you've hoed into it. So we start with the worst person. Who is the person who got you into this mess? Bill. Describe how Bill fails.
All right, so Bill is charging forward with complete desperate conviction, because this is like it's for all the marbles. This is the big battle with the dinosaurs, and these guys are going to ruin everything. And just kind of talking to himself, he builds up speed, and as he runs towards this group, he scoops up one of those metal dividers that you use to organize queues, and it's got a long kind of ribbon that's attached to it, and he starts to swing it around by the ribbon, and it starts swinging wider and wider and wider, and he's going to try and it connects with the first person in this wedge, who just catches it and then immediately starts pulling Bill off balance and starts pulling him right through the group, where he builds up more speed as the others kick him, and then he ends up being thrown out the other side and flies through a plate glass window and is cut to ribbons, and is lying in the in some little display booth that is broken on the other side.
Yeah.
So that's Bill.
In a pile, he comes to rest in a pile of plush Triceratops toys.
Yeah, bleeding all over them.
Bleeding all over them. That's absolutely right. All right. So that's Bill's failure. Dexter Mason, our chief lifeguard. How does he screw up?
Well, we've barely come off. We had barely come off the jetty, and we're called into action. Dexter up for the challenge. I start running towards this wedge of people running away. Unfortunately, the jetty was slipperier, and my footwear was less grippy than I had anticipated. So for a brief moment, it looked really impressive. Like, here's this wiry man running towards this group, and then immediately massive pratfall slips over, sort of turns in the air, like a full somersault in the air, and then lands and impales his leg on, like, it's a jetty. There's an anchor there, and it's through his leg.
All right, so Dexter has impaled himself on an anchor. Maybe it's going to come out, maybe it won't. We'll see. But so next worst in this sort of
ironically hampering your movement.
Krill
someone
is
helpfully
next.
said in the chat, it's even now.
How does Krill fail?
Okay, so Krill likes to think of herself as quite quite athletic, quite agile. So, and also her legs, her sea legs are like her best feature. So in an intimidating attempt of agility and strength, she sort of runs at this crowd and then goes to somersault cartwheel to kick them in the face, because her legs are her strongest point, and it just goes horribly wrong as she lands on her wrists and just feels one of them just and just twist underneath her and send her cartwheel spiraling through the crowd. Incredibly embarrassing. She ends up sort of dazed in a bush, sort of half upside down and sort of dangling there for all the world to see her, just upside down and embarrassing herself.
Most of the people milling around notice you. The wedge of sort of gun operatives aren't paying much attention. paid a little bit of attention as Bill came round flailing with his bollard, but really they're focused on what you guys now realize are a series of what look like crates with the Deathmatch Island logo on it, and they are prizing them open, and you see them pulling shotguns out of these crates. They've managed to get themselves armed while you guys have been indulging in Three Stooges sort of activity. But the person who fails the least is still to come. Everybody's Karori West's favorite scoutmaster, Romeo Dankwort. What happens with Romeo?
So Romeo looks around and says, well, the best plan is one that's planned. So he takes a quick knee, grabs a stick and starts drawing some X's and O's on the ground and starts talking about a game plan for everyone. Sort of if we sort of form a pincer movement, Bill, you and I take this way, and then Krill, and so you just take their left flank, and then he sort of explains this plan, and then looks up, and they're already charging. They've already gone, and so Romeo stands up and goes, "All right, plan B," and he just starts sprinting at the group. But because of his limp, he veers to the left. So he's sprinting hard at this group, and then veers to the left, and only realizes partway as he goes through, and then someone just swipes at him because Romeo is a fast runner, but the swipe took off his. He runs, and he realizes that there's something hasn't quite gone right because his balance shifts again, and just turns around and sees a smiling mercenary holding a severed ear, and Romeo is just like, well, that's just messed up. That is weird. What are you doing with an ear? Where would you get? And then it occurs to him, and he puts his hand to his face, and then I think he looks at the blood, and he looks at the man, and then he smears the blood under his eyes, and marks the man for payback.
And the man takes a leather thong from around his neck, threads your ear through it, and gives you one of those looks that only Willem Dafoe has managed to master in so many different of his roles, as he ties your ear around his shoulder. He grabs what looks like a pack out of one of these crates, gives you this, and then goes running off after his mates up the path.
That dude just Green Goblined me, didn't he?
He just Green Goblined you. So the one of the best quotes there on the chat, it's like the beach on D-Day over here. And in fact, you look and you find that you're not the only people who have been injured. There are several people who are just lying motionless on the dock. So we've gone for who has the best fail, and the votes are coming in. I'll give them just one more moment. William Dafoe, the NPC, got a vote. There are a lot of early votes for Morgan. Stephen comes in. But his name's been incorrectly spelt in at least one of them, so that invalid votes. So Bill Bread gets himself an extra follower because the chat remembers what you did, even though you incorrectly named the bollard.
Yes.
And there you go. I will always remain an English teacher, ladies and gentlemen. And if there is incorrect nomenclature, I will become triggered by it. So you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off. I think that the leader now, because he was the least rubbish, will be Karori West's favorite scout leader, Romeo Dankwort. Yes, chat, it's Romeo, as in best foods mayo.
To be clear, his name is actually Romeo Dankwort.
International Comedy Festival.
That's right. Just in case they've got any spare money there. All right, ladies and gents. Stephen, there's apologies for misspelling your name there. Dr. Evergreen comes up to you and goes, well, It appears that you're completely useless. I must find other people to stop them. And she runs off up the path. You guys now have a choice of where you can head. You just ahead of you is the main gate. But then after that, because we're doing this as a one shot and we've only got a little bit of time, I'll let you guys decide any of the places, locations you want to go to beyond the gate. You've got 3 choices. You've got the visitor center, you've got the herbivore paddocks, or the river cruise. Romeo, the final decision will be yours, but other people can have input. Or one of you can spend a trust to wrest control and take it wherever you want it. So, what are we doing?
Are there any weapons crates left unravaged?
They are all popped open and have been stripped.
Yeah.
And in
find
fact,
that mercenaries
you
are very
hear
good
this-
at going. Yeah, no, I don't need this shotgun. I'll just leave this here. Someone will want it.
You hear the noise of a shotgun just up the path being wrapped and a blast and then someone screaming. So they're obviously fully functioning as well.
Well, I think we should go to the herbivore paddocks because, I mean, if there's anything up there, they can't hurt us, right?
I agree. That sounds very safe. How dangerous could a herbivore be?
Exactly.
They're all weak from lack of protein.
Liked the sound of the boats, but you're right. That seems smarter.
Following a man who's only ever followed the trails of Zealandia, you make your way underneath the great arch of Triassic Island. Again, you notice that somebody has plastered crudely Deathmatch over the Triassic. You go underneath that and you go up this path, and it once was one of those superbly manicured paths that had it had a nice even level of pebblage on it, but over time there have been plants and things that have crept up through that. There's obviously the weed matting underneath hasn't quite been up to snuff. Budget weed matting, avoided at all costs, folks. And you make your way up and through this sort of canyon, and then it opens out in front of you, and it is this marvelous vista over this wide open grasslands. And you can see these huge necks and shapes in a herd, about 6 or 7 of them, giant brachiosaurs, as they sort of, and you feel the vibrations of their feet as they move through these grasslands, stopping occasionally to nibble on a tree, ripping off whole fronds from big sort of tree ferns and things as they go. You also see disturbing the grass, smaller dinosaurs, little sort of chicken-like things running through as they go, and in front of you there is an iconic site, and I hate the way that the word iconic often gets used, but for you people in Diceratops, it is for you. The mighty Triceratops stands in front of you, snorting, 3 horns, looking at you, marvelous, master of this grasslands. And as you go, you hear... you see in the distance, you see the guy with the ear, and he's standing there, and you notice now that the rest of his pack have gone a little further away, and he sort of he does this, and he points at all of you, and then he beckons.
So the first thing that Crow does is look at Dexter and go, "See, dinosaurs."
I mean, so fundamentally, as a scoutmaster, it feels a little bit out of his depth, but also entirely in his element. It's around nature. There's animals and beasts around. And first thing Romeo does is he reaches down into the dirt and finds, I guess, some Triceratops dung and rubs it on his arms. And then offers.
It's like a cow pat. So it looks hard on the outside, but it's got a soft center.
It's got a soft center. Yeah. It's like a Mars
it's got
bar.
a soft center.
You punch it
like
Everyone's
a
assuming-
deep fried Mars bar.
That's it. That's it.
Everyone's assuming he's doing this for bushcraft reasons and not just for fun.
I forget I'm a company. And then I turn and I say, just follow my lead to the team, and I pick up
I'm not doing that.
some of the juicy leaves like a frond from a nearby tree, and I walk up to the
The word after
Triceratops.
juicy was leaves.
And,
So you're walking up to this.
to the Triceratops.
You're walking up to this
calmly.
guy.
Yeah,
to the Triceratops.
To the Triceratops, yeah. And I offer him a frond, and I'm attempting to bond with this animal using my Scout Master animal husbandry type, charm, so that I can ride, and then I'm going to ride the Triceratops into battle.
Okay, so what happens now, folks, is that unlike in other versions of Deathmatch Island, this island, which was a little passion project developed by Tim Denay, who's the creator of Deathmatch Island, he really wanted to create a bonus island. This is the bonus island, and one of the things that he's given the cast, anybody who plays this particular island, the ability to do is that they can actually bond with dinosaurs. But what this does is attempting to bond with a dinosaur happens as part of the challenge. All right, so the bonding of the dinosaur will happen as part of whatever challenge. It immediately makes the challenge dangerous, which means that if you fail the challenge, Romeo will take another injury. But this is not the challenge itself. The challenge involves in some way the beckoning dude. So you're going to need to approach him to find out what he wants, or are you just going to simply attempt to jump him? What are you going to do?
I think we, I'm still covered in dung. That's not changing. But I think we follow. He's got my ear. I want it back.
So you're going to stalk him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Bill,
All right.
Bill steps forward, and he's got like stuffed Triceratops is sort of strapped to all his injuries, soaking up blood, and as he limps through, he wipes blood off his face, shakes his head. So I think what we actually need to do is talk to him, because surely what he's trying to do is find allies that he can use when he turns against the rest of his people. I think that we can use that to our advantage if we talk to him.
You're a good kid, Bill. You're a good lad. Not too bright, but you're a good lad.
I'm a lot older than you.
Yeah. Well,
This is your future.
Are you buying it?
I'm not.
Are you buying it, or are you gonna?
No.
You're gonna sneak after him.
I think we're gonna sneak out. I think the grass I'm assuming the grass is long enough to give us a little bit of the pretense of cover. And so I'm gonna turn and I'm gonna do the X's and O's on the grass. It might be hard for people to see, but I'm doing a game plan, and I'm talking the team through it, and we're gonna sneak on it. I'm gonna follow him.
You can remember, Morgan, if Bill really wants to do this, you can spend a point of trust to force him to do it.
I'm
No, you're not going to. All right. Well, I'm going to call this a snake mode challenge. So there are 4 abilities in Deathmatch Island. The first one, which we saw, was your deathmatch ability. Well, there's 5, but that you would use commonly. The first one we saw was deathmatch, and that is anything that's sort of fatal, firing guns, attacking each other with knives. There's the social game, and that seems to be what Bill was trying to play. It's your ability to try and talk people around. There's snake mode, which is sneaking, lying, and deception. That's what I'm calling this challenge. There's also challenge beast. Challenge beast is things like being able to swing across branches, doing multiple press ups, standing still and holding weights for a long time. The sort of thing that you would need to complete challenges in American Ninja Warrior or Survivor. And then there's the redacted skills, which may come into play later on. They're for secret things that the cast members should not be able to do or should not know what's going on. But I reckon that this one, folks at home, is a snake mode challenge, and it is against the leader. It's turned out that your Willem Dafoe guy is, in fact, he is, he's the leader, and he. So we'll use his name dice. He's ruthless, and just for because we can. One of his other dice is that he can't swim, and so he's not going to have to swim here. So we'll use that. It is a dangerous challenge for Romeo at this point. It is not a dangerous challenge for anybody else, unless any one of you wants to try and bond with one of the dinosaurs. If you succeed, if you are successful in the challenge, you gain 1 trust with a dinosaur that you try to bond with. So I'm going to roll now to see what the target number is. It's going to be a snake mode challenge. And here we go. Oh. Your target number, folks, is 10. They did so well against the 10 last time. So the guy with the ear around his neck, let's see how we go. Romeo, and everybody else, remember, you can have another point of fatigue if you want to add a second ability to the dice pool if you want. But let's find out who's in and see what happens. So who's in for this challenge and who's going to support, if anyone?
I'm absolutely in, you know that. Romeo, he
All right.
doesn't give up.
What's the graphic that we see as Romeo enters the contest?
Romeo is he's standing proudly over a box of things he's selling door to door, and actually in that box, you open the box up and it's you'd think it would be cookies, but no, it's graphic novel versions of Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged for teens, and that's how he made his millions. And then he winks.
Okay. Who else?
A bit of character detail there, just an extra.
Oof. Okay. Who else is in?
Bill. Bill. He gets down and starts crawling, and the graphic pops up. Bill Breed, and it's another one of these kind of stylized, almost stick figure cartoons, and it shows Bill walking into a house, and there is another stick figure with like a dress and a couple of smaller stick figures, and they kind of wave their arms and they march out, and then my stick figure kind of falls to his knees and crying, tears come out, and then it goes, ready to fight, and that's me.
Wow, it's like you were describing the back of someone's car window there. All right, so all right, who else is in? Oh,
okay.
Julz is so traumatized that her mic is cut out. Who else is in?
Okay, Dexter's in, and so what you see first of all is just the current vista, the herbivore paddocks, distant dinosaurs and all that sort of stuff, and it's grass, and suddenly a head rises up out of the grass, sort of similar to how he did out of the water right at the beginning. Except this time he stands up to his full height. Still has an anchor through his leg, and before he sort of heads off in the direction, he just casually plucks it from his calf muscle and tosses it down.
All right. So for those people at the sight of a Scoutmaster with Ayn Rand novels, that wasn't gruesome enough. There's an image for you before you go to sleep. All right, is Krill in?
Yes, because we are for a yes and podcast in Diceratops. So yes, and I am in. And my scene that pops up across the screen is Krill, Nanai, and you see her like at the top of a cockpit, like looking down over the deck, and then it just cuts to her also in her house. And that you can see someone clearly knocking on the door. We just want to talk to you for a moment. And she's like hiding behind the door and waiting for them to go away. They leave and she goes, like mugging for the camera.
All right. This is some truly disturbing Eddie Redmayne doing Velkommen stuff that we're watching right here, folks. What we're going to do now, they're going to be building their dice pools. We're going to see them rolling in a moment. Remember, they'll be using snake mode. And Romeo Dankworth succeeds with an 11. Bill Bread succeeds with an 11. How did the other two go? This will be interesting because Dexter Mason still bleeding from the car fails, and Krill.
Yeah, that seems right.
Krill fails dreadfully. So that's about as low as you can get, I think, folks. In Deathmatch Island, she would have. Yep.
She's not good at snake mode. It's not. That's why her big scene was her hiding from someone knocking on the door.
So, well, you could have had a fatigue to get another dice in there, but you're going to get a fatigue anyway. So what we're going to do is we'll start in reverse order of rubbishness as we describe how at least several of you fail to follow the guy with Romeo's ear around his neck. When you do that, you will each mark 1 fatigue for those of you who fail, but you also get another 10,000 followers. All right, so we'll start with Krill Nanai. How do things go bad?
Well, I think what actually happens is she thinks it'd be a great idea to try and sneak up on this guy from underneath one of the dinosaurs. So what she immediately does and goes to climb underneath the Diceratops, who obviously is not a Triceratops, sorry, not us, the dinosaur, who immediately is not a fan of that and does like the cat stomping thing when it's not a fan of things, and just like stomps all over her a bit. And she's like, so like there's no sneaking. You could just hear screaming from underneath the Triceratops.
All right. Luckily, there's no injury, but there is fatigue from that. Dexter Mason also fails to sneak after this guy. What happens?
So Dexter, chief lifeguard, sort of imagines that being a chief lifeguard is very similar to being like a Navy SEAL. He's very mistaken.
Makes sense.
So he thinks that what's going to happen is he's just going to go silently through the grass after Willem Dafoe, and there's just going to be the barest rippling of movement as he goes through. What actually happens is that as soon as he uses his newly injured leg, he's like, "Ow, shit." Then his limpy leg he stands on and is like, "Ow, shit," and this through the whole field. So everyone knows he's coming.
All right, he's made a lot of noise. We come now to our 2 successors. We're going to go with Bill Bread next. So Bill, there's quite a lot of distraction now because Krill is underneath this Triceratops flailing around. Dexter is shouting and screaming in pain. With all of that distraction going on, what does Bill do?
Well, Bill, as a dentist, Bill is used to operating calmly when there are people screaming in pain. So I did use my occupation die in this test. and he is maintaining his composure and moving calmly and smoothly through the underbrush, closing in on our target. And as he does so, he's just going to lend some assistance to Romeo as Romeo does whatever Romeo is about to be described doing. So Bill is happy to just kind of be succeeding alongside what Romeo's doing right now and just following along.
All right. Well, it comes down to it. He made a big gamble. If he failed, he could have ended up being gored terribly by this Triceratops. But Romeo has not only succeeded, but before we do that, Bill, your support has really resonated with the viewers back home. And you see, unlike the last time you got a little stub, you get quite a long bit of ticker tape comes out of your follower counter. You've earned another 100,000 followers. So mark 10 boxes on your character sheet. All right. You get half of that. So you get 50,000. 100,000 followers goes to Romeo Dankworth. Yes. Romeo, you mark those. You also mark 1 point of trust with the Triceratops. So you can use that at some point in the rest of the game. But describe how both you befriend the Triceratops and manage to sneak after the dude with the ear around him, who's being referred to just fully as Willem Dafoe now in the chat.
So Romeo, with his long history of scout mastery and his other views, knows that it's the risk takers, the people that really sort of put themselves out there and take a risk, and they're the ones who will reap the rewards. And he sees a dinosaur, a Triceratops, and thinks, this is a chance for me to use my hard work, my initiative, get ahead. If I own that dinosaur, he might have a gun. I have a dinosaur, and if this works, then I will have a dinosaur, and my team will have a dinosaur, and not just any dinosaur, a Triceratops. And so he has covered himself in dung, and he's thought, right, he's got the blood on his face, his own, missing an ear, a limp, and the dung, and so he uses that to sort of show the Triceratops that he's not a direct threat. He smells like the Triceratops. He's not. He comes in peace. He brings a juicy frond of an unnamed plant, which he can name. He knows all of the vegetation on this island by just looking at it. Is a scoutmaster, of course, as they do. He's got his herbology badge, and his botany badge, and his animal husbandry badge. So this is his domain. He walks up to the Triceratops and just goes, "There you go." Looks under. There you go. Yes. Feeds the frond. Pets. Let's the Triceratops sniff his hand and then give it a lick, and then has the Triceratops just falls in love.
I'll pause you there just to the chat. First person to come up with to put in a name, the Triceratops will be known as that name. All right, there we go. Carry on. Chungus is the name of the Triceratops.
Close with cheesecake. It was so close to cheesecake.
It was real close, but Chungus is the name, or Chungus cheesecake.
First name, last name.
Could be there. Yeah, Chungus cheesecake.
You know, Krill over there wants to call you cheesecake, but you look like a Chungus to me. I'm going to call you Chungus. Yeah, Chungus. And he leans up into her ear and just whispers, Chungus. Yes, I'm Romeo. We're bonded together now, you and I. I trust you.
Do you want to actually describe how you succeed in the challenge now? Rather than, this is getting really close to some of this dinosaur porn that's on Amazon.
I mean, honestly, I'm here for it though. Like, I feel like the chat's here for it too, right? Chat, you're with us on this.
Romeo mounts Chungus standing on the knee and then onto the back. Yes, we're moving on, Jarrod.
Okay, no, I'm just getting past mounts.
Yes,
This needs to be used to promote KiwiRPG around the world. This is what they think.
So once I've mounted Chungus successfully, I ride her and give her a bit of a G up as she just starts walking towards the Willem Dafoe. But I am lying flat on my stomach, so as to hide my silhouette, because they've got the sun behind us,
and the frill.
And the frill.
And the frill of the neck frill. All right.
That's it. Yeah.
So Willem Dafoe, that's his name now. He has another name actually in the official thing, but Willem Dafoe, let's just say that he is in fact Willem Dafoe. He, like everybody else, has found himself on the island and doesn't know how he's there. Willem Dafoe turns around and gives you that sort of his skin, like Willem Dafoe's skin, is so tightly stretched across his face he can barely wink. And he heads off. There are 3 pathways that he could go, and he heads off on a left-hand pathway. And you guys, you are following him down the path, riding Chungus, who. Yeah, and reeking. So the rest of you realize that Romeo smells real bad, and there are flies collecting around him. There is a sort of cloud of flies going as you make your way down this path. You come to this wooden platform, and it sits at the edge of a jungle river. And there is this river there, and there are these inflatable rafts tied to the edge of the of this jetty, and you hear, but you do not see. You realize that this is a voice. This is a pre-recorded message. You hear, "Welcome to Jurassic Island. I am Dr. Serafina Evergreen, and this is my life's work. Now it is time for you to relax and enjoy this breathtaking scenic attraction. Let us go on a jungle cruise." And you see, you don't see where Willem Dafoe's gone. It's like he's disappeared. The young woman that you met on the dock, and she has a group of other people who similarly look sort of broken, wild-eyed, and like, what the hell's going on here? And there is this. You notice that at the end of the pier is this terminal. It's like a plinth, and then there's a sign, and it's about sort of a foot, 2 feet wide, and it's that sort of slightly hip plastic signage that might have been in a coffee or vape store in 2022. It's sort of white plastic with nice Helvetica writing on it, and it's just illuminated from inside, and it says "challenge." And then you hear, coming from other speakers, you hear this voice, and it says, "Welcome, competitors, to Deathmatch Island. This is your first challenge. I'm your host, and ladies and gentlemen, people of all genders, races, and creeds, it's time to play to win or die. Your challenge is simple, teams. Each team will grab a rubber raft. you'll be making your way down the river, and you will see your rewards appear is in floating crates. And then further down the river, you see these orange crates suddenly go, and they're floating in the river. The first team to reach the crates wins the prizes. For the rest of you, there's nothing except perhaps death. Play to win! And then the terminal retracts into the jetty. And you see the young woman and her team sort of confusedly start to get into one of the rubber rafts. There's also another group of people who sort of jump into one of the rubber rafts as well. What are you guys going to do?
I'm just wondering if, while I was engaged in my kind of sideways scouting that was successful before, did I maybe come across any handy rewards? Did we get any rewards out of that challenge that we succeeded at that we could maybe add to our character sheets now so we have a better chance of surviving?
Yeah, you know what you did. You did
Yay.
locate something, and it's whether Bill wants to tell everybody else about it or not. Well, Bill located a couple of sets of one set of survival gear and a couple of sets of climbing gear. So the survival gear is like a backpack, an orange kind of backpack full of sort of basic survival gear. And then the other one has some climbing gear. So 2 sets of climbing gear, ropes, grappling hook. They would be normally for the best person in the challenge, but because you guys were both tied and because you did the side scouting, you can choose, Bill, whether you want to dole those out or whether you want to keep them for yourselves.
I just
and
love
while you
that-
make that decision, I'll just explain to people what these are. So these are what we call acquisitions in Deathmatch Island, and these will give players a bonus D4, or possibly a bonus 2d4 or a bonus 3d4 that they can add to the end of their roll. After they've rolled everything, they can then use one of their acquisitions. Most acquisitions have 2 uses each. They mark off a use, and they get either 1d4, a 2d4, or a 3d4. They roll those, they take the highest one of those, and they add that onto the end of their score. So this could give them an up to 4-point boost to their score. So Bill, you've got an important decision. Do you keep all these for yourself? Do you dole some out to your mates? What are you going to do?
So Bill, who is like a limping pile of blood-soaked soft toys, he kind of starts shaking and items start falling off him and land on the little ferry dock. Clonk, 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 clonk. I found some stuff that might come in useful, everyone. Divide it up as best you can. I'll take what's left. So, Stephen,
right.
why don't you assign things, because you are still our leader, I think, technically.
All
I
right.
feel like everybody but me should probably get one because I'm probably still screaming in terror underneath the Diceratops from everything that is happening above me.
So then, Bill has given it to you to fulfill the actual role of the leader, which is to portion these out. So who do you want to have them?
So it was
you can keep them all for yourself. It's one set of survival gear and 2 sets of climbing gear.
Great. So I'm gonna keep the set of the survival gear and the climbing gear, and I'll give one of the climbing gears. I'll hand that to Mason. I think.
All right.
Dexter,
All right.
this is yours.
All right. So Dexter, you get one. So you can mark a use on your. Each of you marks a use on your character sheet of those things, and then when you choose to use it in the challenge, you just untick that so that you can show that you've got it anymore. So while you've been divvying these out, you notice that the other 2 teams are in their boats and they are paddling towards these crates. You can remember from the last time you saw crates, there were shotguns in the crates. So what do you want to do? Are you going to take part in this?
Yes, we are. Look, I think that
All right.
this is very much a case where Romeo wants to not have another challenge with the hand tied behind his back and have no weapons.
All right. So this is a challenge beast challenge versus the river cruise. There is. I'm going to add some extra dice. One of them, neither of them, I can actually tell you what they're for, but you will discover what they're for in a moment. The danger level is still +4, despite some of the things that I'm adding. You also, I add the opposing team. So we'll add the opposing team as well to that. So let's do that. I'll do that. Okay, and it's going to be a challenge beast. So we'll find out who's in. Your target is a mere 7. All right, here we go. Please describe to me who's in. So we'll start. Romeo, you're in. What graphic do we get?
So this is Romeo climbing up a relatively steep hill surrounded by scouts, and so Romeo's sort of on his haunches, and he's just yelling at the boys, to charge over the hill. Go on, you can do it. You go. And then he looks at the camera and he says, "You can do it," and winks.
All right. Romeo's in. Who else is in?
Dexter's in, and what you see is intercut with him, with pictures of him running to this rubber inflatable, pictures of him running to a surf lifesaving boat and doing exactly the same thing. So it's showing this direct parallel of him running towards a boat.
Things. All right. Who else is in?
Girls in.
Krill's in.
Yeah.
All right.
And this time her graphics probably quite disturbing. It's she seems to be in a dark boat shed, and there's just a figure posted in light behind her. It's like a dark figure, and behind her you see one of those boards with all the red string and the pin boards and stuff, and you see a familiar looking kind of island outlay to the one that they are in. It's like the camera just kind of pans over a little bit, reveals it, and pans back a little bit. And then you see her cleaning something red, sort of liquid, off the blades of the back of her little jet ski boat type thing. And just sort of looks up at the camera and is like, "You shouldn't be here," and pulls down the camera.
All right. Is Bill in?
Bill Bread is in, and his graphic comes up. It's his little kind of stick figure animation, and he's lying in bed, and the sun comes up, and he just stays in bed, and the voiceover goes, "Bill Bread, action is his pleasure," and he's run forward. Yeah.
All right. Just letting you guys know as well, this is an exhausting challenge. So you each mark one level of fatigue just to take part in the challenge. It's also a dangerous challenge. So if you fail, there will be injuries coming, folks. Your target is a 7. Let's make those dice pulls and let's roll away. There are some successes. Romeo Dankworth succeeds. Bill Brad succeeds. Dexter Mason succeeds.
More than succeeds.
Dexter Mason wrenching control, possibly, unless Krill really nails this one.
Oh, I don't know. I'm trying.
It's all right. And Krill also succeeds. It's success all round, everybody. This is the first time we started with all failure. We have all success. So we go in reverse order. We start with Bill. Bill, you don't need to take us the whole way, but what's success look like for Bill?
So Bill is all about getting in, and he's just getting into that boat and just getting moving through the water, and I think he's going to be encouraging everyone else. That's his main contribution. Is like, yeah, let's go, we're going to get it, and we're going to go this way, come on, go, row, scoop that water, let's go, and while also contributing himself, but he's doing a lot of talking.
Okay, so Bill is flailing away, encouraging people. You see that several of the boats are still ahead of you. Just as you think you are about to pass one of them, there is this sudden explosion in the water. Something huge, scaly and leathery leaps out, takes the whole boat in front of you in its jaws. There is the spray of blood, a mist, gobbets of meat fall down upon you. There is a splash and then nothing. There is but one boat now ahead of you, but you can see that the river that looked fine from where it is starting to get quite choppy, and there are rocks appearing. All right. Next up, we have, I believe, Romeo Dankworth, the man who decided you were going to go. Of course, Chungus Cheesecake back on the dock, just standing there looking at you. What's going on?
So Romeo, looks at Chungus and gives him a solemn nod and says, "I'll be back." And then leaps into he's in the boat, and Romeo's pulling all of his Scoutmaster wits here. So he's watching the rapids, watching the rocks, and trying to sort of can tell people which way to stand and lean. And then he pulls out his survival gear, the grappling hook from the survival gear, and he aims it at one of the crates, and he throws it at the crate. But it didn't roll well enough to hit the crate, but he rolled well enough to hit the boat in front. And so the hook grapples the boat in front. And so Romeo's able to pull and make up extra ground to the boat in front, and possibly also pierce the lining of the inflatable.
All right, so far I've forgotten to tell the two of you what's happened. Your follower counters have ticked off 40,000 new followers, so 4 more boxes on your follower trackers for both Bill and Romeo. But next up, we have, I believe, it's Krill in a boat.
So Krill like looks at everybody and goes, "Just trust me." And particularly like at Romeo, like gives big wide eyes. "I can do this. I know what I'm doing." And just like, like is basically calling on you to let her like grab and steer this thing through this like giant struggle while all the rest of you are doing craziness, And that's what she does. So she like steers this crazy lifeboat thing through this like environment, like leaping out of the water and down again. Every time she sees a leathery head come up, she spins it around in a 360. So like the outboard motor, like blades are just cutting the necks of these things, and then she like spins back around again, so that like she's like racing through to try and get to these crates. That like just cutting stuff down in her path.
All right, so you're almost there. There is one boat between you and the crates. It all comes down to Dexter. Krill, take yourself 40,000 followers. Dexter, what happens?
Okay, so it starts with Dexter running alongside his teammates, heading for this boat. He's also much like Romeo, making use of his climbing gear, swinging it. This time he's taking a slightly alternative approach. So he's aiming for the other boat. He's trying to hook onto the other boat, but then the other end of the climbing gear. So he's got a grapple at one end, of course. Once he's grappled onto that other boat, we're rowing after them, but he's got the other end in some sort of lasso. And when a leathery head pokes itself above the surface, well, he lassos it.
Yeah, he does.
Suddenly, the other
He
boat
does.
is attached to this river creature.
And Romeo,
Right.
just for continuity's sake, when that happens, he lets go of the grappling hook that's onto that boat. Just to be clear. For those
Rips.
playing along at
So-
home.
How it rips, right?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
The giant prehistoric crocodile thing pulls you towards the floating crates, and you find them. Dexter, not before you get 70,000 new followers. So 70,000 new followers for you. And in those crates, Dexter, you find that there is 4 sets or 4 close combat weapons, 4 gnarly looking knives, and 5 more sets of climbing gear. So you can, as the best person, as the leader right now, you can dispense of those as you will.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna dole them out evenly. I'll keep the extra climbing gear for myself.
All right, so everybody gets 1 close combat weapon you can mark in your acquisition, and everybody bar Dexter gets 1 set of climbing gear. Dexter gets 2. All right, folks, when we had a bit of a chat beforehand, because there are some members of the cast who are slightly older, as you can see from the level of grey hair that some of us have, we thought it might be time that we take a quick bathroom break. If any of the members of Diceratops want to do that, what I'm going to do to people is explain, while they take a quick break, I'm going to explain to people how this one shot of Deathmatch Island differs from a full playthrough. We'll have a quick chat through that, so people can understand what's going to happen next. So if any of our players want to step off right now, you can, and for the rest of you, if you want to, you can do that. I'm just going to provide a quick explanation of how things differ. So at this point, in a full game of Deathmatch Island, we go into what's called Phase 2. During Phase 2, players would maneuver themselves towards the final contest on this island. In Deathmatch Island, most games are played over a 3-island campaign. So you're kind of thinking 1 island per session, maybe, or maybe a little bit more. It depends on how much you're into doing some of the activities. So what would happen during Phase 2 traditionally is there would be a couple of different parts to that. The first part of that is the scout phase. During the scout phase, each of the players can go off on their own to different parts of the island where they might try to do things that are going to give themselves a sneaky advantage over one of the threats, one of the opposing alliances, I suppose, in the game. Then we come to what we call the scramble. And in the scramble, the players are presented with 2 choices. Of course, the winning player in the scout session, I should just add, gets themselves an advantage dice, a D10 advantage dice that they can use at any point in the rest of this Phase 2 contest. That's just an extra D10 that gets added onto any roll that they might need, so it could be real important. Then in the scramble phase, there are 2 options that they have. Some threats get outlined. I will outline some threats that might happen. They could be threats that happen to the individual characters themselves, or it might be threats to people that they have met along the way. Those threats could lead to fatalities. They may even not survive this phase. The players have 2 choices. They can either choose to tackle those threats and stop those threats from coming to pass, or they can seize the contest. The best player, if they choose to seize the contest, gets to pick the location for the final death match, the final battle royale for that island. And that's the final, they also get themselves an advantage dice. So the final battle royale for the island really determines who lives and who dies. If the players win that final battle royale, which is a deathmatch contest, and they've also won the Seas contest just before, they basically get to dictate the fate of anybody who is under threat earlier. If they succeed in the final deathmatch contest, but they don't succeed in the Seize the Initiative contest, then I decide as production who lives and who dies. And if they fail both, then they could be very much on the chopping block themselves. It really depends on how nice the production player is. That's your GM. But we're not going to do that this time because this is a one-shot and we want to get to the crux of the matter, something that normally happens after 3 islands time, where everybody has had a chance to bond with each other. But before we do that, folks, we're going to go one more time just to have a few flashbacks before the final siren goes and we enter the end game. So this is a chance to go back and do one more flashback each. We'll come to our little list of questions. You'll get a trust with each other, remembering that the trusts, folks, are only going to have limited time before they can be used in this next phase. But we'll be back now, and you guys, having negotiated and navigated the river, you pull up your raft, and you notice that the other raft with the young woman who approached you on the dock, they have largely made it out. One of their members lies face down in the water, and all of a sudden disappears under the water as something snatches her. But they are crawling out as well. They're sitting near you. You guys are in a small huddle as you see some large duck-billed dinosaurs come down to drink at the water's edge. It's time during this just brief moment in between all of this action for just to find out a little bit more about your fellow competitors. So we'll start with Dexter, since Dexter, you're the leader now. Who have you got a question that you want to ask, and what is the question you want to ask them?
Okay. I'm going to ask. First of all, I'm going to remember everyone's names, and then then I'm going to ask Romeo, who do you consider an enemy back home, and why?
The government. Basically, as someone who believes in growing the skills of the youngest generation and of leading our future, the amount of regulation that I have to follow as a scoutmaster, the police checks, the constant safety checks. Every time one of my scout troop falls and breaks an ankle, I have to fill out 13 different forms. WorkSafe came over and gave me an assessment last year 3 times. 3 times. The government. If they wasn't with them, we would have a nation of strong, proud children who would be able to run this country when they grow up. Instead,
well,
people who are very good at
behind
regulations.
the government, don't you? Now you know who's behind the government.
before the questions go, before we see that shot, a shot that's from obviously taken down a very long lens of Romeo coming out of an ACT Party rally and going and getting into a small larder and then driving away. We go zoom in even tighter and we can see David Seymour is filling out an application form for Romeo to go on Deathmatch Island, and with a cheeky but sinister twerk, he folds it and puts it in the mail.
So we don't get the Rock for the River Cruise, but we do get David Seymour in WorkSafe. Okay.
We're a small RPG community, Julz. There's not the budget for
Blew all of our money on Willem Dafoe.
If you think David Seymour isn't watching this right now,
90% of our budget.
You say his name 3 times on camera, he's there.
Don't do it. So Romeo, you have a question for who do you want to ask your question to?
I need to ask this question of Krill. And I look at her and I just like this piercing blue eyes. And I stare deep into her soul and I say, what's the most angry you've ever been?
And she
real anger.
Yeah, so she sort of takes a big deep breath and then kind of, you're right, we're probably going to die here. This is horrendous. My wrist is just completely crushed and I am so tired. I'm pretty sure I'm going to just not make it through this. So, and she looks at you grabs your shoulder and she's like, you have to avenge my parents. They died in one of these stupid Deathmatch Island stupid matches, and I am here to take down Deathmatch, and I need to take down Deathmatch, so you have to help me. I have never been so angry at a corporation in my entire life. You have to help me. If I die, promise me you'll take them down.
I'm sorry, honey. I see your passion. I can feel it, but you have to speak into the other ear.
There's at that moment there is a cut to something being filmed elsewhere live on the island. You see 2 hands open an orange box with a Deathmatch Island logo on it, and 2 skulls are taken out, and they're put onto a plinth. And you see concrete walls are all around them. The lid closes, and you see just on a little bit of like a little bit of white gaffer tape, and somebody's written D and K Nenai on it, and then the box is taken off camera. All right, Krill, who's your question to? I think it's Bill and Dexter who are remaining unasked.
Okay. I'm trying to find something that Yeah, Bill, why are you staring at me like that? Why do you what? You've never lied in your life? What's the biggest lie you've ever told, huh?
I don't know if I've ever really understood just how much I lied. I lied all the time. I lied since I was a little kid. I lied and lied and lied about everything, but I'm not going to lie anymore. The biggest lie? The biggest lie was when I stood in front of the altar and I said that I would honor, and I can't even finish all the vows. I did all the vows and then I lied and I didn't do any of it. I was a terrible husband. Didn't mean any of it. I had to lie. I had to lie. Only way to stay below their radar, the people that run everything. But I did. I don't regret it.
Romeo pulls out one of his teen graphic novels for Atlas Shrugs and just like passes it to Bill just quietly.
Rips out a
gives
page
him,
and wipes his...
yeah, Krill gives him a big hug and is like, I know, aren't they awful, the people that run this? You know, it's just like right there with you. Yeah.
All right. Bill, your question for Dexter.
Look, if we're going to take these people down, we need to work together. And I know that we've all got strengths. Dexter, I want you to tell me, what's the other end? What's your greatest weakness? And how are you going to overcome it? How do you overcome your weaknesses? I'd like to know.
This is where you're supposed to say probably kryptonite, right? Is that? Yeah, probably my greatest weakness. Well, I'm constantly injuring my legs, and as you can see, I'm still managing to get around okay. I'm overcoming that, but I started with a limp. Now I'm double limp, and this has been a lifelong thing. I'm a man in my 50s now, and it's been I can't think of a clear sort of 2-week long period in my life where I didn't have some sort of leg injury.
And we see a montage of different times where, and it looks like they've all been filmed from a van of Dexter going to cross the road and somebody coming by and smashing him in the back of the leg with a hockey stick, and Dexter in Countdown, and somebody pushing the hot chicken stand over onto him, scalding his legs and catching him. We see Dexter going for a walk along the beach, and all of a sudden a porpoise just comes out of the water and beaches itself, but not before it hits him in the back of the knee and pops it out of his joint. And as the camera pulls away, we see a frog person disappear beneath the water and swim away, and you catch just a glimpse of a familiar orange in the oxygen tank. All right.
And then the last final shot of both of Dexter's knees, which we've never really got a good look at before, but now his jumpsuit's torn up enough to show it, and they just look. Each one looks like a sack of walnuts.
Man, leg day at the gym must be rough.
You guys hear all of a sudden this klaxon sound, and as you do, you hear the voice go, "Welcome, competitors. It's time now for you to take a look in the pocket of your jumpsuit. Each of you will find instructions to proceed to the next phase of the game. Remember, it's time for you to play to win." And in fact, each of you looks into your jumpsuit, and you get a little message as well on the top. If you have a look at the top of the map here, inside the jumpsuit is Bill Bread's his one, and he gets the message, "Good thing happens to those who win," and directions to head off to a pathway that he heads off by himself to a new location. Krill looks at the at her message, and she gets on the top, her message is, "Dream big, work hard, play to win," and directions to follow to go to a new place. And
He is limping.
Dexter, you get the your message is you won't get followers if you're always following.
Oh,
It's
deep.
your little aphorism and directions to go. And finally, Romeo, you get your little message from production for you, and it says, whoops, I can't make it work. You don't get a message.
I can't make it
No,
work.
you do. Your message is give 110% all the time. Hustle beats talent when talent doesn't play to win.
Oh man, is this Deathmatch Island or LinkedIn?
Yeah, I know, right?
You follow your way in to these different places, and you find that each of you has a different door. You see that there are a whole lot of doors into the side of this cliff, and there are various other people who are going to open some of these doors. You see off in the distance, there's Dr. Green, and just nearby is Willem Dafoe, who looks at you, and you swear he's giving the finger guns. And further away, at the very distant edge of your vision, you see somebody with a slightly sinister twerk. But in front of you, there is a door, and you notice that your competitor number has been slid into it. You open that door, and there is inside is a brightly lit room. You can see a little bubble of a camera above you, and there is a plinth. On the plinth are 2 cards. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, as long as this works, I'm going to deal you 2 cards each. These cards, I want you to read them quietly to yourself. Do not discuss the outcome of these cards. But then when I say, I'm just going to get you to lay them onto the, just drag them, the one that you choose, onto the tabletop. And then I will anonymously read the results, because you're going to be given 2 choices. You're going to get the chance to play to win, or to play to break the game. If you choose to play to win, and other people don't choose that, you will get an automatic advantage dice in what comes up. If you if any one person chooses to play to win, then the whole game becomes about playing to win, even if the rest of you choose to break the game. If you choose to break the game, then you are taking on production to try and take down Deathmatch Island. You can't discuss it. I'm going to deal these cards to you. I am going to deal them to you at some point. Yep. Maybe it's not going to play game for me right now. So what I want you to do then... let's try that.
I've got a question while you're trying to figure that out. Where is Chungus right now? Do I have Chungus near me? No, I raised my hand. Can I call him Timmy with a click of my fingers?
You don't see Chungus right now.
Okay.
You don't see Chungus.
He's close, but I feel Chungus. I think we're bonded.
All right. So what I'm going to do then is I will get you guys... It was working for me perfectly before, but it's not working for me now. So I will get you instead to whisper me. You will to whisper. It's just /W space GM, and I want you to tell me whether you want to play to win or break the game.
I do a little thing asking me that with tick boxes. Is that what I'm supposed to have?
Yeah. Did you get one? Oh, I've had it. It's all right.
I don't know where it went now.
Other way, Morgan. The / needs to be in the other direction. Otherwise, everybody will see. So it's...
That's why I tested.
Yep.
Good test board.
Good.
We saw it
/ W space GM and then play to win or break the game. All right. The first vote, people, is break the game. The second vote that we have received is break the game. The third vote that we have received is break the game. If this final vote is for break the game, then the members of Diceratops will take on production to try and take down the entire sordid game of Deathmatch Island.
I'm
The
so
final
nervous.
vote is play to win.
Oh,
So the final vote is play to win. And actually, it's better that we do it this way because I know who has voted play to win. And that could actually become important later on. As you do that, the doors, another door in the front opens, and you find that you are in this concrete maze. Each of you is in a different part of the concrete maze. And it is open topped. All right, so we come now to, this is a version, folks, of this is a modified version of phase 2. This is the end game. And because somebody has voted to play to win, this becomes fatal. Only one person can survive this final. There will be only one member of Diceratops standing. Folks who are watching right now live, people who are watching in the end, Diceratops has been a great bunch of friends up till now. These people have been putting on live shows and stream podcasts, Dungeons and Dragons, and other games for a long time. And the bond of friendship is one thing that stands out. But tonight, we are putting that to the test because only one of them can win, and only one of them has chosen to play to win. I know who that person is. We'll see what happens. But there can be only one. So the first phase of the end game, folks, is the scout phase. So what happens is during this
Oh, that's
phase,
unfair.
you
Yes.
are moving through this maze, trying to find other people and get a leg up on the opposition, so that you can scout people out, so that you can wipe out members of this thing. Of the game. You also see overhead as you're moving, there are sort of winged dinosaurs flying and stooping. You see walking across the top of the concrete walls like raptor type creatures, and occasionally they will jump in and you hear this and a moist crunching and a. So there are dinosaurs loose in this place as well. All right, so what happens right now is that you guys are trying to scout to try and see if you can get an edge on everybody else in the game. Each of you decides what capability you are using. I don't set a difficulty this time. You are rolling against each other. Okay, so each of you can choose one capability. You can decide if you want to have a. You can decide if you want to add an extra capability, but you must mark a fatigue for that. You can decide if you want to use any of your acquisitions. You could also, at this point, still spend trust. So remember that you can use that trust to get people to take damage for you. And you can also use the trust to get them to assist you and give you a copy of their name dice. So you can still do that at this point. But trust can't be spent later on. So here we go. So let's start with the person who was best in the last one, which would be Dexter. So Dexter, you just announce yourself and then put together your dice pool, and then we'll do the rolls after that. So Dexter, you're in. What do we see?
Excuse me. Okay, so there's sort of a close view of Dexter. He's looking out into the maze, but you can't see what he's looking at this stage because it's a tight close up of him looking off into what appears like the middle distance, and then a big swing around to see the maze kind of expanding out in front of him, and him just sort of standing there, battered and bloody at the opening to the maze as a yeah, he's obviously holding his knife in one hand and a grapple in the other.
All right, who's next?
Romeo. We're not together at the moment, aren't we? We're all separate.
No, you're separate.
Yeah. So Romeo's standing there. He's covered in chungus dung, which I guess makes him dungus. And he stands there and he's thinking. He's got a determined look on his face, and you can tell he's sort of assessing the different sort of scouting requirements that would be needed. All the merit badges he's collected, all the merit badges he's bestowed, all the lives he's changed. And you just see, just like it's a close-up on his face and the congealed blood dripping from his ear. And then you just see him go, "Let's go," and starts walking.
All right. Who let's have up next? Let's go for Krill.
Okay. So you see Krill kind of come up on this, like, platform or whatever, and she's looking at this maze, and she sort of hurriedly tries to wipe away a tear from her eye, like, totally wasn't doing that. What? And she screams up like she's trying to look for the camera, but she ends up with, like, her back to the camera. You tell she's, like, talking really like, emotively in a direction that you totally can't see. And she's like, "You can't make us play your stupid games if we band together. You can't make us kill each other. We are stronger than you know." And then she marches into the maze, with her knife in hand and backpack over her shoulder. And she's like, "Friends, to me!" like, as she's, like, running into the maze.
All right. Then who have we got left? Bill Bread.
Yeah, so Bill's just walking forward. He's just this kind of mess of streaked blood all over him and torn up toys and limping, leaving a trail of just goo on the stone floor behind him, and he's just talking to himself. You just gotta stay calm. It'll all be over soon. It'll all be over soon. Stay calm.
All right. So now you guys have had time. You choose what capability you want to roll. Remember, you can add an extra capability if you spend a fatigue. You can you'll add your name dice for definite. You can also add your occupation dice if you think it's valid, and any of those acquisitions you've got, you can spend one of those as well. You just need to make your roll, and the person who is the best, they're going to get themselves another or a D10 advantage in that they can bank with them. Yes, Julz.
question, Mr. GM of Deathmatch Island, sir. Once you get to the fatigue points where it puts you into the injury band, could you please walk me through what happens there?
Yes. So if you head down into injury, you will be marking the next time you take any fatigue, you will mark another injury. If you've got no more fatigue, you immediately go into your injuries. You will notice on your character sheet, you've already marked 3 injuries. The next injury has a little dot in it. That will be, you will get an advantage. So not an advantage, you'll get an advance. So they're down the bottom. That may increase one of your scores. But you've only got 3 more and then you are dead. Absolutely dead, unless somehow you die in these next few. So if you've got 1 more fatigue to mark, you'll be marking that. The next time will be an injury.
Okay,
all right,
perfect.
So there you go. So we're going to go, when you guys are ready and you've assembled your dice pools, let's roll them and see who wins our scout contest.
How are we? What's the target number we're sitting against?
You're not setting any. You're trying to just have the highest
0.
number. So your
Just target number of 0. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Target number of 0.
All right.
And if we've already got one of those injury boxes filled that's got a black dot in it, should we be adding in advance?
No, that one was one that I pre-filled for you. You don't get that one. That's because it's a one shot.
Great.
Greedy man. Oh yeah, that's your advantage. All right.
Okay.
Romeo Dankworth gets a 7. Can people do better than the old Scoutmaster from Karori West?
Chances are yes.
Dexter Mason, Chief
Damn it.
Lifeguard, just a little better. Bill Bread, much better.
Okay, I see. Ooh.
But the best of all hasn't been best in any challenges yet. Krill Nanai. So we're going to start from the worst person. I just want you to describe how you're maneuvering through this maze and what you're doing, what you're seeing as you're maneuvering through. So we will start with Romeo.
Yes, so Romeo, he's sets out, is determined, and he's looking for people to avoid, people to meet. He's also he knows to sort of keep one hand on the left hand wall at all times, and he's walking, and as he follows, he goes left, and then he takes the first left, and he's got his hand on the wall, and then he takes the next left and the next left, and so on, until he sort of realizes that he's got no more lefts to go, and then he puts his right hand on the wall and starts again.
As he does, he turns the corner and he sees in front of him Willem Dafoe with a large machete, and he looks at you and he raises the machete up and he gets that feral Willem Dafoe grin, and he strokes his ear and he looks at you and he goes, "I'm going to have the other one." And as he does, this velociraptor leans over and just takes his head and it pops off. There is a fountain of blood, and Willem Dafoe, you just former award-winning actor, the only person to have out-scenery-chewed Robert Pattinson in any film, staggers, thrashes around like a headless chicken, and keels towards you. And as he falls, your severed ear falls off the thong at your feet. Meanwhile, in another part of the maze, Dexter
Looks like
Mason,
I have a machete now.
Chief Lifeguard.
Right. So Dexter, actually, like, he was holding his knife, but he puts it away because he's using his climbing gear. He throws his grapple, catches it on top of the maze, drags himself up, and suddenly he's on top of the wall, scaling along top. along the top. He's like, well, I'm gonna get a high vantage point, and I'm gonna move past this maze. I'm not gonna be a rat.
All right. You are up there. You can see that there is a bloodbath going on in this maze. There are, it looks like the dinosaurs have got loose. They are in there munching people. You see that there's a T-Rex a little bit over, throws Dr. Evergreen up in the air, ragdolls her through the air. And as she's flying, this pterodactyl just comes swooping in and takes her out and flies off with her. There is just wholesale. You see other members of the one guy still trying to fire a shotgun as he's surrounded by a whole lot of other dinosaurs that are dragging him down. You can see that there is very few people, if any, surviving what's going on in this maze. You're pretty good to have got a little bit of height at this point. Meanwhile, in another part of the maze, Bill Bread. What's Bill Bread doing?
So Bill is limping along through this maze and talking to himself, stay calm, and it's just like what we've been studying. It's just like the maze outside the Overlook Hotel. They said Stanley Kubrick wasn't in on it, but I know he was. Room 237 was a sign. He was behind the moon landing. I know all about it. I've been preparing for this moment all my life. And he looks up and this pterodactyl just kind of swoops down and he says, that's right. There was an aerial shot of the maze. And he gets his grappling hook and he throws it up and it catches on the back of the pterodactyl and it gets lifted up into the air above the maze and looks down, just like that view in the middle of The Shining where you see the whole maze from up high and he's seeing everything. And then he's falling, but we'll worry about where he lands next time.
As you fall, you notice that around the neck of this pterodactyl, there's a GoPro. It's strapped onto it, and the recording light is on.
I'm not surprised.
Finally, though, what's going on for Krill, the winner of this challenge? Krill, you get you get another 100,000 followers. And you also get a 1d10 advantage that you can use. But describe how you're managing to scout the maze.
Yeah, so I think she's like calling out literally Marco Polo because people can't help but reply to her. She's using she's running full tilt, just like up walls, round corners, but she's like using kind of like a friendly sort of, if we work together we'll be stronger. There's voice, cool, yeah. Heads sort of towards that, sees the dinosaurs, throws them in front of the dinosaurs, kind of keeps moving, so she's like using like Marco Polo as a game to use as bait for the dinosaurs so she can keep running through this maze. And so I feel like, because I also spent a point of trust with Bill, it's very, very appropriate that what happens next is Bill falls in front of her right as she's like faced with the dinosaur she doesn't have any bait for. And then it's just this woof, and she's like, all that, and then she like takes off in the other direction. Thanks, Bill. Like, and just like keeps running like through this maze.
All right, so you're running. Bill is confronted by this dinosaur, and then just at that moment, you see coming around the corner a very familiar face, somebody that you've seen on TV, that you've seen on Dancing with the Stars, that you've seen before, and just you can't quite put your finger on him, and just as you're trying to think of that person's name, the dinosaur that was just about to munch you just turns around and completely rips this person into shreds in front of you, saving you. Krill, you dash around the corner and you see a door.
More like David C. Less, am I right?
You open the door, and in the door, inside, you see a control room.
David, no more. That would be better.
There is also, you see in the control room, there is a series of levers. There's also 2 skulls resting on top of a perfectly crisp white sheet of paper. And on that is a note from production. And it says, Krill, we knew it would be you. Here is a little something that might inspire you. It's the remains of your parents. You also have the right to choose. 4 competitors remain. Use these levers to separate them into 2 groups. Winners always win. Winners make the right choice. Play to win. So you now get to divide your team into 2 groups. One person will be in the group with you, and the other person, the other 2 people will be in their groups. Those people will then engage in 2 separate contests with each other. Of that, only 2 of you can survive, and the 2 of you will go through to the final death match. So, who are you going to put into the groups?
She thinks about her options, and the limping that she saw going on, and the general like injuries. Then she looks at her crushed wrist herself, and is kind of thinking about who she feels like she could take, and she decides to put the Scoutmaster and the lifeguard in a group together because she's not sure she could take either of them. So she's just taking them out of the equation for herself and making them fight each other. And she's like, ooh. As she does it, she goes, sorry, Bill. Again. That's twice. Ugh. You know, she kind of like tells herself off.
So you manipulate the levers, and as you manipulate the levers, you can see through this window the maze reconfiguring itself, almost like drafting in a sheet pen. And what it does is all of a sudden, Romeo and Dexter, the walls move, and the 2 of you are face to face in front of each other. And you see Krill standing right outside the control room is Bill Bread.
Bill.
You are in your 2 groups. The result of this contest could see that there will only be 2 people remaining for the final for the final moment. So. For this one, you can use any capabilities you want to use again. You can use, again, it's the same, you're competing against each other. So Romeo and Dexter, whoever wins that has the highest roll will win. Same for Krill and Bill. And you will describe how you basically defeat each other or get through. So we'll start with Romeo and Dexter. Let's get your little opening clips.
Right. So Romeo, this is a clip. It's a clip of him handing out care packages after Cyclone Gabrielle, and those care packages are, there's lots of towels, blankets, batteries, Atlas Shrugged, graphic novels, Scout cookies, and just genuine sort of like he's there to help. And then that face, the camera zooms in on his face, and it sort of it dissolves into his current face, and the calm, kind, helping face is still there, but now there's calm determination, and a sense of grit, as the Chiron just says, "This is it."
All right, Dexter.
Okay, we So this clip again, it's a sort of a flashbacky clip, and it's him of the surf lifesaving boat that we saw before. Him riding through the sea to rescue someone who's bobbing in the waves. They're they're weak. They've got their hand in the air, but you can see they're fading. And coming towards them is a shark. And the boat's coming closer, the shark's coming closer to this person floating in the water. The boat's coming, the shark's coming, and then just in time, the boat reaches there first, and Dexter punches the shark and lifts the person into the boat and turns around and goes back to shore.
Yes.
All right. So before you assemble and roll your final dice pools, this is the last chance you have to use trust. This would be the last chance to have Chungus become involved if you wanted to use Chungus. Take a moment, gents, and roll your dice. We'll do this competition, and then we'll go to Krill and Bill. Krill v. Bill.
Okay.
There's determination on Stephen. Oh, 14 for Romeo Dankworth. Oh, here we go.
Oh.
It's not looking good for Dexter, but Dexter has got a 16 before.
He has.
Okay. I'll use a trust dice.
All right.
It's someone else's name dice, isn't it? So that will be
Yep.
D6.
Yep. And who's... So Dexter, we start with you. So what you do is, for this one, we want you to describe how you think things are going well, and then what miscalculation do you make that leaves yourself open for the final strike.
Okay. Dexter's plan is essentially going all out here. He's got his climbing gear, and he brings out the knife, and basically he's aiming to get that grapnel round the neck of Romeo, and essentially, first of all, use Dexter's own body weight, over the fence to lift him off the ground, and then gut him like a fish. But
yes.
in executing that, it all seems like it's going well to start with, and then Dex just not as strong or as heavy as he imagined that he was, and so he's trying to lift Romeo up, and it's just not even coming close to working. He's not coming close to strangling Romeo, and he fumbles the knife at the last minute, clatters to the ground.
All
I
right.
get the sense that your constant wetness from being just like always, just like
Always moist, yeah.
makes the rope slippery. Yeah.
Oh, you
Just
said it. You said it. No.
Constant dampness.
Always horny.
All right.
We're gonna
really
get told off.
sorry. Yeah, so sorry, Twitch and our remarkable
Triceratops.
overlord.
Yes.
Romeo, how do you seize this advantage? How do you turn this into the moment where you're going to strike the killing blow? Take us up to that moment, and we'll get to that moment, and you can describe how you strike the killing blow.
So Romeo sees the grapple come over the wall and allows it to sort of wrap around him. But while Dexter thinks it's around his neck, it's actually around under his arms. And as he pulls him up, Romeo sort of runs at the wall and climbs up to get a bit of leverage, and then jumps back and then uses the rope, the momentum from that to lift both the grapple out of Dexter's hands, but also to give him a minor rope burn, which irritates the heck out of him. And he sort of starts jumping up and down, and then as he's doing so, he doesn't hear Romeo give a wolf whistle, and you hear this doop, 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 and a Triceratops runs right past runs right towards me, just knocking Dexter out of the way. By which I mean goring him as he goes past. And then Romeo walks up to Dexter's wound, goring him in his other leg. So now he's got one leg anchored, another leg bone, horned, and
Told you I was horny.
that's it. There you go. And then Romeo looks down at him and says, "You tried, kid. You did. You really did. But I've got an ear to replace." And takes Dexter's good ear, one of his good ears, and
I'd enjoy it if it was the wrong one.
it almost certainly is.
Double
Because
left.
he's almost certainly the wrong ear because he's looking at you while he's taking the ear from him, which is then he puts on, realizes it's back to front, but never mind. And then just like sets you on fire and walks away.
As he walks off, Romeo remembers that thing that he forgot from all of those many scout first aid courses, which is that you can't just stick an ear on, and the ear we watch as it just sort of slides off and falls behind.
It doesn't bother him. It doesn't bother him. It was
Get on with the knife.
All right. So, surviving, we have our scoutmaster from Karori West, Romeo Dankworth, goes into the finale, leaving behind Dexter Mason. Tried hard, did so well, came into his own towards the end of the challenges, and we get a quick montage of his journey here on Deathmatch Island. We see him skewering himself on an anchor. We see him ripping it out, but somehow later on mysteriously having it put back in. We see him on the boat succeeding, and then the final moments as he has the wrong ear cut off by Romeo, and the camera pulls back. A shot probably taken from a pterodactyl with a GoPro overhead as we see his flaming corpse and Romeo walking deeper into the maze. All right, we come now to Krill v. Bill. Krill Bill right now, folks. And Krill Bill, whilst also wearing a yellow jumpsuit. So we're going to get you guys to tell us what happens. Assemble your dice pools and roll away.
Oh, all right.
So let's have your opening graphic.
Yeah. So Bill's the little stick figure animation that's been popping up for Bill appears, and this time it's just this really slow dragging footstep limp, and the sound that comes over it, the like jingle jangle exciting music is gone, and it's just this he just comes in and says, "Bill Bread, he's ready to win," and then it's Bill just coming forward, and he's still got soft toys strapped to him, and he's got cuts everywhere, and his eyes are big, and he's muttering about Stanley Kubrick, and as he does so, the X that he's carrying comes out from under the soft toys, and he starts holding it as he's getting closer to the door where he knows his final competition.
All right. Yep. Krill, what's your opening graphic?
It's sort of quite jarring compared to everybody else's. There's this opening graphic of like and it has like little words like not actual, like this is like a fictionalized version of real events or whatever. And it's just like a child on a boat with two parents, and they're like helping her tie a knot, and it's like this beautiful like scene of the first time she fell in love with being a sailor, like is with her parents on this boat and out in the ocean and stuff. And then it just dramatically cuts and switches to her just staring and like with her hands on these two skulls on this white piece of paper in this room with like silhouetted, like, just her like big like chest heaving breaths. And you can see her just getting like madder and madder, like, sitting there like remembering all of that. And hearing that foot dragging towards the door throughout the whole thing, just like that noise of foot drag, axe drag through the whole thing.
All right. So it's time to assemble your final dice pools, folks. You're going to roll them. Bill versus Krill. Krill, Bill. Here we go. And let's roll
I'm ready.
those
Shall I
dice.
go?
Yes, go for it. 14.
No!
Very.
Oh!
Oh! Bill kills Krill.
How did I do that? I had a D10.
There are ones on D10s.
Oh, so bad.
Just before we go, it's 10 follower ticks for Bill and for Romeo Dankworth. You get 100,000 followers each for that. So, Krill, tell us how things go, how you think you're about to get the drop on Bill, and then what goes wrong.
Yeah, so she goes like real quiet and she steps towards the door and she just opens it. And she's like ready with like the two skulls in one hand and the knife in the other. And she's like staring at him and is like, "Don't test me, Bill. These are my parents. You want to meet the real me? Then get ready to meet the real me. But what I'm telling you right now, Bill, is you're better to treat this like a dream, Bill, because this is a dream. Lie down and take it, Bill. Lie down and take it, Bill." Like, and she's just like getting like creepier and creepier. And she's like, yeah.
Okay. All right. How do things go wrong?
Yes. So as she's like kind of doing that, she's totally not paying attention to either the noise or like what he's dragging in his hands, because she's very focused on the fact that he's like bleeding profusely, covered in like blood-soaked Triceratops. Like, she's not seeing him as a threat at all, and I think that's what happens and what goes wrong. So she's just like basically trying to get him to stop, lie down, and so she can just stab him and put him out of his misery, and she's not really expecting an attack. So it's not even that she goes to parry it. She just literally never sees that coming. Yeah.
All right, Bill, this is it. She never sees the attack coming. What finally happens? How does Bill succeed and triumph?
So Bill just kind of gets in close, really close to Krill, and he just ends up kind of kicking with his limpy bent leg, kicking her back, and then he brings up his axe as she's falling, and he hits at some pipelines that are hose pipes that are running along the walls, and gasoline starts spraying out into the room. And then he takes his axe and he jams the door closed with him on the outside and her on the inside. And then he just starts banging the metal until sparks go flying in and it starts to burn. Says, "I'm gonna burn it all down, Krill. You understand? I need to burn it all down."
Probably this beautiful moment as she like is looking through like in horror for a moment and then realizes, and just like peace takes over her face, and she just like stands there and she nods at him like, okay.
He puts his forehead against your forehead through the glass as the flames come up behind you.
Yeah, and she smiles at him and she hugs the skulls and she's like, okay. Yeah.
Nice.
And then there's a terrible burning to death. And there we are.
There's a theme. There's a theme. We burn each other alive.
There is a burning theme. It comes down to this, folks, the final contest. All of the concrete walls retract. there is suddenly this vast open space, littered only by bodies and feeding dinosaurs. There's flames from a burning control room. By now, Dexter is just smouldering, and a couple of smaller, sort of turkey-sized dinosaurs are sort of eating what remains. There, facing each other, are the bloody, battered, and in one case, entirely dung-caked forms of Romeo Dankworth and Bill Bread, family dentist. So what happens now, gentlemen, is this is a deathmatch contest. Deathmatch is the skill. You can add a second capability if you like. You can spend no trust now. Trust is gone. One of you will leave alive and one of you will be dead, joining the rest of them. You can use your job if you think it's necessary. You can use an acquisition if you've got one. Let's have the final shot of you as each of you starts, and then we'll get you to roll your dice pulls, and we'll see who's the winner. Just before you guys describe your final moment, I'll go to chat and see between Bill and Romeo, chat, who is going to win this fight, or who do you want to win? More, who do you want to win this final death match?
I mean, Krill wants Bill to win because Bill's going to burn it all down.
Krill does, what Krill wants
KiwiRPG
doesn't matter because she's dead.
But like, that's what I
Krill
want.
did.
Oh, I mean, Julz. Julz wants that too.
Bill is winning here. I'll give him just another moment. Cheesecake, Bill, you've got the people of the chat have spoken. Give yourself a 1d10 advantage for this one, because the people at home, your followers, love you, Bill. So Romeo has no votes.
Hey, a beloved stalwart of the community, a scoutmaster who may or may not.
First shot showed children and dogs licking him. All right, so let's have your final entrance into this final one. What shot do we see? Here we go.
So Romeo walks in. There's flames from behind him from the smoldering remains of a no longer damp Dexter. The dung has calcified, is dried out. The blood on his face is smeared. His ear is one ear is intact, the other is lopsided and sliding off. But there's a look in his eye, a look of this is close. I can feel it. This is my game. I know what I'm going to do, and I know how to beat you. Like a confidence in his eyes that just it's there.
All right, before we get you to do your entry, our fantastic sponsors from BD&D Games who've been sponsoring things throughout the entire time have spoken in the chat. They want Bill to channel Jack Nicholson for this final confrontation. And because they've been such a generous sponsor, I think we can do nothing but humour BD&D Games. So you'll enter into this competition channeling Jack Nicholson, please.
Go on. I'd love to see this. Yes.
So, the little stick figure animation that has been appears this time, and it appears through a cartoon door that has been hacked open by an axe, and the stick figure face comes through, and it pops up. Here's Bill Bread, and Bill's kind of staggering in there, and as he's staggering, it's like his arms are vibrating between stick figure arms and real arms as he looks down at himself, and he looks across at you, and that's what you see as well. Looking at Bill, it's like he's flicking back and forth from stick figure to person. He doesn't have an axe anymore, but he's grinning, and he's doing the kind of Kubrick stare with his head down, staring right at the camera, getting closer and closer.
All right. Time to assemble your final dice pools. The final dice pools, Diceratops, of this. Only one. There can be only one survivor from this. The chat want Bill to win, but can Romeo pull off a villain's victory here? All right. Here we go.
All right, I'm rolling. Oh, except I've lost it. Where did it go? Here it is.
Romeo Dankworth, Ted, Bill Bread is the loser here. So we start with Bill Bread.
Oh.
How do you get to the point where you think you've just about got this whole thing in your hands, and then how does it slip away?
So Bill is coming closer, and he's using I used a fatigue to access the social game as a second one, because he wants to get inside your guard there, Romeo. He's like, Romeo, why didn't you try and take him down? Why was it you that decided not to take him down? Getting closer and closer. Do you have any answer for me, Romeo?
Don't you get it, Bill? Don't you get it? I'm the deep state, man. Me. Guys like me. We rail against the government, but we run the government. Who do you think controls the government more? Guys like me who are pillars of the community, drive a Ford Ranger off to the scout every week?
Oh, that's...
Or guys like you, dentists, who sit in their basement every night connecting the dots to strange conspiracies? I'm the real deep state, man. Deep state doesn't lose. We only know how to win.
One thing to stay. Where do you get a load of me? And I just try and jump on you and throttle you, and it's not going to go well. That's me. It's your go.
So as Bill jumps, Romeo pulls out from behind him the rope from a survival kit with a machete tied to it, and he swings it, and just like throws it right in the ear, straight into Bill's arc, and catches him underneath the chin, and then up through his teeth, breaking his teeth, and in a way that ironically only he could have fixed. And as he sort of lies there sputtering, Romeo walks up and says, "I liked you, kid. I really did. I know you're older than me, but I'll give you a merit badge for this one. Good try. But trying doesn't win. You've got to give 100% all the time. Hustle beats talent, mate. When talent doesn't play to win."
And there is an explosion of orange confetti everywhere in the air. Just confetti, cannons, fireworks, frightened dinosaur flee everywhere as all of these things go off. Romeo Dankworth is the victor, and I've been waiting to say this the whole time. Bill Bread is brown bread. All right, there it is. It's a lame piece of Cockney rhyming slang to finish on, ladies and gentlemen. So the last word should not be me. It should be Romeo Dankworth. Describe the aftermath. What happens to Romeo now? He has killed and won Deathmatch Island. How does it end for him?
So Romeo reaches into his pocket and he pulls out a little circle, and he peels off the back of the circle and he puts it on his jacket, and it just says "winning badge." So it's for winning. So he's got it's his first winning like survival merit badge, and he just sort of walks towards just starts walking out of the maze, and next to his friend Chungus. No, he rides Chungus out of the maze like a boss. So he's standing on Chungus, one ear, Good. One egg gone. And just walks out of the maze with I guess a machete strapped to his back. And just money raining down on him from the sky. Which is just lots of $5 notes, $100 notes, all denomination notes, and he's just like collecting them, sure, but he knows people are watching.
$5, $100,
All the notes,
all the notes,
all the notes,
both kinds.
both kinds.
Everybody out there, thank you for watching. Diceratops does Deathmatch Island in no way implies that these reflect the values of scouting Aotearoa, nor do they necessarily reflect the values of Diceratops. This has been Deathmatch Island. A big thanks to all our live audience for watching. For those of you who are watching now in a recording, maybe 20 years later, many of these references won't mean anything for those of you that weren't involved in the political hellscape that is 2024 Aotearoa. Thank you to our players for being here, to Morgan Davey for an Oscar-worthy series of performances as Bill Bread. Thanks to Julz Burgesser for that amazing final moments of Krill. For those of you who are out there who are genuine masochists, you'll love the work of Jarrod Baker and the eternally injured Dexter Mason. And ladies and gentlemen, as a man who was pretty much autobiographically living much of that, but he isn't a scoutmaster, Stephen Youngblood as Romeo Dankworth.
I just wanted to create a character for the kids, you know.
Thanks to everybody. We're going to be doing our prize giveaway very soon for those of you who are in the chat. It's going to be a raffle. It's going to use the Twitch chat. It's only for New Zealand addresses. So if you're outside New Zealand and you're watching this one on chat, then I'm sorry, but our immigration is very lenient, especially if you're a school teacher or a police officer or possibly a nurse. It's really easy to come here now, and you'll find that we're a lot unlike Deathmatch Island. But folks, what we're going to do while we do that draw is we're just going to have a quick chat to the man responsible for Deathmatch Island, the game that we butchered here tonight, Tim Dene. So I'm going to invite Tim into the chat. And as Tim appears, I just want to remind everyone what your prize draw is for. It's for the limited edition Mind Flayer adorable figurine and a copy of Deathmatch Island. And of course, that's thanks to BD&D Games. So this is going to be an online raffle. If you want to be in, you have to put in our entry word. The entry word is !Deathmatch. No gaps in between anything. That's once again, it's !Deathmatch. The prize draw, you've got 5 minutes to be into that prize draw. And while we do that, I'm going to have a quick chat to Tim Dene, the creator of Deathmatch Island, who's up well past his bedtime. Kia ora, pōmari, eh? Tim, thanks for letting us have some fun with your game. Those people out there who've had a look on the KiwiRPG website, you and I get into it for a good long period of time where we really talk about the game itself. But just wanted, for those people whose exposure to RPGs has been maybe something more traditional like Dungeons and Dragons, what was it that drew you to the system behind Deathmatch Island, which is the Paragon system? What speaks to you about that system that we saw here tonight?
I mean, I think the short answer is sort of the speed that it runs with. You're not getting bogged down in too much sort of minutiae. You're not like describing how you run 10 feet to this grid and then diving behind cover there and then running over there. I think for a deathmatch game, if you're doing that, it would be a lot of that kind of tactical nonsense, which might be fun to a certain extent, but it wasn't what I kind of wanted to get at. I wanted to get at something much looser and faster and more about the crazy characters involved, which I think we saw tonight. So yeah, kind of a different focus, and yeah, that's kind of what I get out of the Paragon system.
Yeah, one of the things that I really like is that fact that it's really player driven. And here's a question for you that we had amongst all of the mayhem at the end here. I mean, you've probably played a fair few. There were some touching moments. Do you encounter touching moments like that at the in Deathmatch Island as much as we've had here tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of surprising. I think, you have the flashbacks and the trust mechanisms. I'm always amazed when people don't, when people play to win, even though the game is pushing you to play to win. When that does happen, I am always pleasantly surprised. So I don't know, did we find out who did it in the end? Or is that spoilers?
Oh no, I can. Chat. Do we want to know who the one person who voted play to win was? Just let me know if you do, and I'll just got a couple more questions for Tim. Tim, what's the thing it's your game, it's your baby. What's the thing now? It's out in the world and things. What's the thing that still you love the most about it? That still gets you the most excited about it?
Well, I mean, in terms of any particular game, definitely that sort of standoff moment, finding out who plays to win or breaks the game, and it's kind of reflects on the players involved as well as like this character that they come into the game with no memories and no pretty sketchy idea of who this character is, but then through interacting with the other characters and these flashbacks, the player is kind of learning who their character is at the same time as you're learning who each other's characters are, and then you get this moment that kind of puts them on the spot, and I never really know who's going to do what, no matter how much you think you do. And so yeah, I always just love that little reveal, that moment.
All right. One final question for you. Where can people get this game? How is it everywhere? Can they buy it online and they can get it from BD&D? Is it kind of, because it's been released by a reasonably big publisher, right?
Yeah, it's released by Evil Hat, so anyone who stocks Evil Hat games should have it. If you Google it, it will come up there. It just released about a month ago, so I don't know how distributed it is internationally, such as New Zealand. But yeah, give it a Google and you will find it.
Excellent. So your final question, Tim, is who do you reckon was the one player who voted to play to win?
Who do I think? Oh, geez.
Yeah.
I think Bill Bread.
All right, folks. I will reveal now, and then we will announce the winner to the chat. So,
who does the chat think was the person?
I didn't ask the chat that, but I could ask the chat. Who do you think was the person who voted play to win?
Sarah, I reckon it was me.
There's a couple of guesses in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
can I ask Tim a quick question?
Yeah.
Because I really love the art style of this book. This, the Roll20, everything is beautifully matching and designed and stuff. Was that like purposeful? Did you have that already in your head, or like how did that come to be?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, partly I made the game as an excuse to kind of do that stuff, so it's sort of cart before the horse. Yeah, definitely like, part of the initial kind of inspiration was as much like, the visuals and the sort of branding as much as the game. They kind of grew together. But yeah, I had a ton of fun making all those graphics and visuals, and I hope that comes through.
Yeah, honestly, the VTT for this is incredible. You did an amazing job. Everybody should be playing that. Yeah,
super great Roll20 implementation.
Yeah. Even ease of play on VTT is just beautiful. It is beautifully done. So congrats.
Even I figured it out how to use it.
Yeah.
Nice.
And if you can get your hands on the book, which Morgan was flaunting around, and I've got a copy of here too. I said it to Tim when I interviewed him for YouTube a bit earlier. It's just an amazing physical artifact. It's a beautiful piece of design. And even if you don't play it, and I'm a guy who's got a lot of games that sit on my bookshelf that I don't play, but none of them actually look as beautiful as this. So get it to appreciate the design.
I'm not. I play every single game on that bookshelf, and
Oh,
I'm
stop your
planning on
boasting.
putting this one. I'm planning on putting this one firmly on it so I can play it again, because I just have loved every second of playtesting and learning this system. It's great.
All right, we've got a couple of things to reveal. Thank you, Tim, for letting us play your game. Thank you for bringing it into the world. I absolutely love it. I hope other people get out there and get it. We've got somebody who's won. Our winner is Disturbed_1NZ. So if it's you and Julz seems to know who it is.
They're a Fate of Eisen fan.
Oh, good.
I'm
Well,
excited for them.
they need to email KiwiRPGofficial@gmail.com to claim their prize. All right. And they need to show a screenshot showing that you are logged in as the account that won. Okay, there is another prize draw, folks, and that'll be drawn from the people who purchase the game that we've just played, Deathmatch Island, within 24 hours of the start time for the stream. So you've got till 8:30 tomorrow to buy Deathmatch Island. You'll need to email proof of purchase plus your name and delivery address to KiwiRPGofficial@gmail.com. Entries close on the 1st of July. All right, folks, here is what happened. A lot of people thought that it might have been Jarrod Baker as Dexter Mason who voted play to win. Dexter Mason's vote was, Jarrod?
My vote was break the game.
All right. So nobody thought it was Julz. It's possibly the innocence going on there. Julz, you could have voted play to win. You could have voted break the game. What did you vote?
Break the game.
Break the game. All right. I believe in personal accountability, ladies and gentlemen. I could have revealed this, but it's up to the person who did. A lot of people suspect that it's Bill Bread who broke the game, who didn't break the game, who played to win. Maybe it's because they don't trust dentists, or is it Romeo Dankworth, the Scoutmaster? We'll go, because he's at the top of my screen. What was your vote, Morgan, as Bill Bread?
As Bill Bread, well, you know, I came and I spoke to that Romeo and I asked him why he voted to break the game, because it was not me. I voted to break the game. Why did he play to win? I didn't want to play to win. I wanted to break the game. He ruined it for everyone.
And the lines between Morgan Davey and Bill Bread are very narrow here, folks. That's right. Come clean. It was you, wasn't it, Stephen Youngblood?
It was me. I voted to play the game because I was here to win. And my motivation was all about the money. And you know what? As someone who's deeply, his character is deeply rooted in the philosophies of individual effort and hard work, I thought this is a thing where actually there. I mean, there's conflict because you want to break a system that's not working for you, but actually you could succeed in that system. So
and we can just fade down on Stephen as he continues to talk.
I feel like we haven't really explained motivations though. So I should just say we did our motivations off screen. So when we did our character creation, we also got given our secret motivations, which get dealt out from the VTT. So you just get dealt your little motivation. And so that's what we were playing with. My little secret motivation was sabotage, to take down Deathmatch from inside. And I feel like that's exactly what I tried to do.
Anybody else want to share their motivation quick before we go?
Mine was conspiracy, which I revealed in the first 30 seconds of play.
Yeah, I feel like solid conspiracy play.
But when did you get your motivation?
Yeah, at the beginning,
Dexter.
I forgot to look at mine, and it says, you desperately need to win this game. You'll do anything to win this.
And Romeo's was what?
Oh, that was money. I
Money.
desperately need it.
All right.
Lots of it.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Diceratops do not endorse the works of Ayn Rand or any of the behaviour undergone in today's stream. Thanks very much for staying with us. The folks of Diceratops and myself do endorse Deathmatch Island. Make sure you get that. And we do endorse KiwiRPG Week. Make sure you go and check out everything that's going on in KiwiRPG Week. More great streams, more great creators, bundles of cool stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, we are a tiny nation, but we are big in RPGs. Paul Marie, good night, everyone. Play to win.
Aloha nui. Bye.